Issue one, if you want them
Okay,
gone,
we got
let somebody
everybody.
do the September season, because it's 10, because it's all the resident.
All right, it's 6:30. Let's go ahead and get started, please. All right, we do have a quorum present. All members of the planning commission are present. As usual, microphone reminder, when you speak, please make sure your microphone is on. First thing is to adopt the agenda. So can we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to adopt the agenda as it stands. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. As always, is there any general public comment before we get started? We do actually have public here, but, okay, thank you. All right, beginning on to new business, we need to adopt the minutes from the October 1st, 2025 meeting.
I have one correction, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Page 6 of 8. 1, 2, 3. The ninth line, due to the changes with SB 974, which stripped us of the ability to ask for, I think that should have been addressed. We can't ask for proffers.
Okay. To address
Proffers, yeah.
proffers, okay. All right, any other things that you've noticed that need to be corrected?
Make a motion to approve the minutes with the correction of Mr. Smith from add to address.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes with the correction offered by Mr. Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The minutes are adopted. All right, first case is case number SU-05-25-01, Gerald Fuchs, special use permit. This is the first workshop on this. Gerald Fuchs is seeking a special use permit in accordance with Madison County zoning ordinance, Article 5-2-1, for livestock on a lot less than 2 acres. The subject property is located at 3632 Wolftown Hood Road and is further identified as Madison County Tax Map 46-54B. The parcel is 1.191 acres and is zoned R1. Ellen, anything to add there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So we certainly have referenced this application a lot over recent months. Currently, the livestock on a parcel less than 2 acres is a special permit use in the R1 zoning district. Since the subject meets that criteria, that's why we're evaluating a special use permit. The applicant is here tonight.
Thank you. At this point, is there any question for Mr. Nichols?
I have one.
Yes, Jim.
On the application, Alan, item 15, what is that fourth word? Wants to keep what goats on property for pets?
I believe the word is few.
Few. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Nichols? All right, if the applicant would like to go to the microphone over there and give us your spiel. Identify yourself and we'll go from there.
My name's Gerald Fuchs. I live in Madison County. Yeah. I'll be the one going on YouTube.
You've got a light on now, okay.
But my name's Gerald Fuchs. I live in Madison County. I have my son with me, Charlie Fuchs. This is new to me. I mean, I didn't when we bought the property, I think we're gonna be there 5 years in March. 5 years in March, we'll be at that property. And ever since we moved in, we've had chickens. And what I'll never do again is, I'll never have a cow again. That was too much. I won't do that. But we currently have 7 goats on property, and I think 8 chickens. We didn't know about special use permit till our neighbor turned on us. I mean, we've had the goats and chickens there ever since we moved in. And what was it, in March, I believe, they called and complained about the goats and chickens. Why they complained about it, I guess they say we're not supposed to have them, obviously. That's why I'm here today. But if they're complaining about smells, I mean, I use pine mulch, you know, a tree trimmer. They'll come by, you know, getting rid of some pine mulch. We'll use that where the goats stay at night. I got a huge area. I mean, on the map, you can see, on the picture on the map there, you can see that creek and the building closest to the creek there. The goats have that whole back half of that property, plus up alongside that building, that back building there, next to the creek. But that area, it's wooded, it's grassed. I'm cleaning up that, when I first moved in, that property was a nightmare. I mean, I pulled out 2 big piles of trash, metal, and it looks wonderful now. And it took me about 4 years to get to that point, but I can't do nothing with that half of the property. I mean, I tried mowing it one time, and it sloped so much where my mower almost went down into the ditch. I mean, the goats go great for that. They munch that grass right up. But the reason, I guess the neighbor thing, I mean, she had chickens before. She got a chicken coop on her property. She says, I can't have chickens though. But, you know, ever since March, they've been after me. And it's I think they're taking it too far. They just put a trespass warning on a 17-year-old, my son, for driving on the grass. We have a shared easement. My driveway, we have a shared easement there. You can see how the property line goes in the middle of our driveway. So it goes into their property, and they called the police on them. So I put up a fence so we don't do it anymore. I don't like confrontation. I'm kind of hesitant to come up here too today, but I mean, it's only a handful of goats. I mean, how I would, you know, the thing I didn't like about the whole thing was paying $500 for a special use permit. That I think is excessive. But I'm willing to do it. I mean, these goats are important to us. I mean, my family's Muslim. There's a certain way an animal has to be killed. If you're going to harvest the animal, there's a certain way I don't know, I don't want to be involved in that. But my wife does all the harvesting. The goats are great. I mean, I have a younger son. He's 11 years old now. He just turned 11. Yesterday morning, I yelled at him. He was late for the bus. Son, get on the bus. I got to say goodbye to my goats. So, I mean, you know, I think a lot about how you can make this better. I know it kind of goes into your next topic of but if I stay for that, but, make the either get rid of it totally. I mean, I think it's excessive, the $500, you could do that. I thought about, you know, what if it's an R1 property in the town of Madison, and you want to have chickens? I mean, what would you do, or goats? I was thinking, I mean, this came into my head today, you know, maybe shift it all over to animal control. If you want to have goats and chickens, apply through them, you know, whatever price you per a permit. Have animal control, you know, go to the property, look at what they got, if it's sustainable for goats and chickens or whatever. But I don't know, I'll take any question. I mean, I think I have a great property for goats. I mean, I have goats to the left of me, goats to the right. The neighbor on the other side of the complaining neighbor has chickens. Everybody has animals. I mean, you got, these are all R1 properties. They all got goats, chickens. I have a bad neighbor. I shouldn't say a bad neighbor. That's the wrong word. But, you know, I don't like the position of being in this. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous over a handful of goats and chickens. And it's funny that she complained about chickens and goats when she had chickens. I mean, I'm trying to think of what else she might have complained about, because I listened on YouTube, and it was hard to hear. I drive truck for a living, so. But these goats, I mean, they're great. They're great, you know. I wake up in the morning, I grab my cup of coffee, sit on the deck, and I let the goats, at night, I leave them up by that white building there, the building, because foxes and coyotes, you don't want that to get a hold of them. But in the morning, I let them out into the grass area in the woods up there, and just, it's peaceful. It's serenity. I mean, it's fun watching them run around. They do, I mean, but I'm trying to think of anything else that I could bring up, but it's just a bad, I mean, if they were going to complain about me, they should have complained when I had the dang cow on that property. That's when they should have complained, because I won't do that crap again. But it's just a handful of goats. They're simple, and they get spoiled. And I mean, I can take any questions if you guys have any for me.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Fuchs?
Mr. Chairman, I've got one.
Yes.
So I went over there to, was it Roundhouse, the road behind you today?
yes.
And took a look at your property. What I could count was probably 5 goats. Does that sound about right?
7.
5?
Yeah, 7.
7, okay. And it appears you've got it fenced off to where they're pretty much all in that back side.
Yes.
And what you were talking about earlier was apparently you keep them up there in that front part where it's fenced in that little caged area where there's
Yes.
like a little white building or something. And
Yeah.
so they stay there at night.
Yes, at night, so the foxes and coyotes.
How many goats do you want?
No more. But
I mean, if you were to be approved for
Let's
this,
see.
if you were to be approved, I mean, what would be your limit? What would be? Do you want 10? Do you want just 2?
I'm gonna, you know, 10 was the number that came to my head just now.
You wouldn't want
You know,
10?
I wouldn't say I won't want 10, but you know, some have babies. And then you gotta harvest the ones that you don't want.
And you say your wife harvests them. Does she do that on the property?
No, we take them to Hidden Pines.
Okay.
But the chickens she harvests.
And I think I saw somewhere earlier a note where these buildings that were on the property line, they've been moved?
Yes,
Where I
yeah.
saw them today, they've been moved?
10 foot 3 inches.
Okay, because I think I saw a privacy fence between the two of you
Yeah,
now.
I put up 250 foot of privacy fence. A lot of work.
Gotcha.
I put that up because, you know, they complained about the goats, you know, and chickens. I put it up, you know, now you don't need to see them. But, yeah, it's a lot of work.
Okay,
And if you were to be approved, sorry,
Yeah,
Steve,
let's go ahead.
would you want to remain to keep them in the same area that they're in right now?
Yes, I would not expand it anymore. I mean,
I think your neighbor, I stopped counting at about 25.
yes,
There's probably more than 25 over there, so.
yeah, I believe so. And there, and across the street, there's goats over there. That, I think is a 4-acre property, so,
Yeah, he may have had 40 next door to you. I don't know how many he had, but there was a tremendous amount.
all right.
That's it for now, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just following up on what Mike was saying. So you're saying you now have, between you and the neighbor, you have put a privacy fence up there?
Yes, I put up a privacy
The
fence.
full length of
just
that
for
boundary?
this reason, because they came after me.
Okay, and your other boundaries are also, I know enough about goats to know that you have to have good fences.
Yes,
So
yeah,
you
I
have,
didn't cheap out on the fence.
okay. I'm curious about that easement you mentioned. Is that the,
You,
goes around that lower?
yes, you see up on by the main road there,
Uh-huh.
the property line, the property marker is right dead center in the middle of my driveway.
Mhm.
And so the easement goes right into their property. It's a joint easement.
Is your primary entrance from?
That's the main entrance, yes,
The easement is the main entrance?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's,
So you do not enter from Wolftown Hood Road?
no, I come in Wolftown Hood.
Yeah,
You're talking about Roundhouse Lane then.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't go in that way.
Okay, so the easement you're talking about is the one between the two properties? It goes right down the property line? I'm just trying to figure out what,
Yeah, you see the main Wolftown Hood Road.
yeah,
And you got that black line in the middle of that driveway,
yep.
that's my driveway. And that property, we had a lot of problems with that. He's got bushes in the front of his, on the property line, and then bushes is real difficult to get out of our driveway. And that's why my son drove over. It might have been a little bit too far, but it's why he drove over, so he can get a better view, because they come around that corner there so fast. But he finally, you know, I think it was a week and a half ago, he come over there and cut the bushes finally after about 4 or 5 years. So I
Okay.
called VDOT to maybe have them come out and do it, but they won't do
They
it.
won't do it. All right, so the point I was trying to get to, you seem to have a neighbor that doesn't like you.
Obviously.
The common easement is another problem, but you seem to have been trying to work with that. You've got the privacy fence, you've got good fencing around the whole property. Are any of the other neighbors complaining
No,
about the goats?
no, not that I know of. I mean, you guys could have got emails, but
Yeah.
not that I know of.
All right. How many chickens?
Mr. Chairman, I've received no other complaints about the property.
No other complaints, okay. All right, 7 goats, how many chickens do you have?
7.
7 chickens and 7 goats, okay.
It's not a lot of hay.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Fuchs?
Steve, I
Yes.
don't have a question, but I had a comment. We beat this to death.
Yes.
And we beat it to death over 2 neighbors that not happy.
Yep,
You know how many goats and chickens it is throughout this county? They're everywhere. Mr. Yao back here, I listened to what he had to say the last meet we had, and I heard him say the most sensible thing that I've heard anybody say yet. And Mr. Yao said, Mike can own a piece of R1 right here, Nathan can own a piece of R1 right here. He's got a piece of A1 right in the middle of it, and it's all over the county like that. He can get his goats and chickens by right. So we're trying to fix something that ain't broke, in my opinion. that we're gonna have a heck of a time trying to get a handle on. Because you got A1 and R1 mixed up everywhere. This guy can have a right and this guy can't.
And it's a rural county. I mean, this is agriculture county. That's why we moved here.
Well, your neighbor basically found one line or one phrase in our ordinances, which we do have to abide by,
Right.
and you are willing to do
And,
that.
and I've been fully cooperative
Yeah.
with
And
Steve Nichols.
It appears to me, I agree with Pete about it's somewhat ridiculous here, but it appears to me that you've made every effort you can to set up the situation so this does not annoy the neighbor, that you've got a privacy fence, they can't see the goats anymore.
I use pine mulch.
Yeah, so, I'm inclined to say, let's just go ahead and go with the SUP. Do we have any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just have,
Yes.
I do have one question for you, Mr. Fuchs. You say there's a creek behind your house there?
Yes.
And that's, water runs in that
Yes, barely, but it does. I think it's a spring-fed creek.
12 months out of the year, you'd say? Generally, it doesn't dry up in the summer.
It rarely, during the winter, it'll dry up maybe, but it's slow.
Okay. Thank you. And then just a couple general comments. And Pete, I appreciate your comment. When I agreed with Cardy's comment as well, but I also disagreed with it once I thought about it a little more, because if we look at how things are zoned in the county, we're always going to find issues, and I don't think the, sins of our fathers should necessarily dictate what we do now. And there's just stuff that's just not zoned correctly, which is, Mr. Yao is absolutely right about. But people do have the option to change the zoning of their property too, if they have enough acres. But in this specific case, so as far as the ordinance change, which is not what we're talking about right now, we're talking about the special use permit. When I look at this, and I'm familiar with all the properties down there, it appears to be, from this overhead view that's in the packet that we're looking at here, to be kind of the nicest maintained looking lot out of the ones around there, at a minimum, consistent with the area. And I don't personally
I've done
see
a lot of work there.
any harm with what you're doing there. And I would be inclined to, be in favor of the special use permit.
The only problem I see, Steve, with the special use permit, it's gonna create a rolling effect. Now, every time some neighbor gets mad at his neighbor, they gotta come and spend $500.
That's terrible.
And it's a lot of kids in this county that their parents can't afford to pay $500 for them to have a goat. I understand what the ordinance says, but at the same time, what kind of problem are we creating for ourselves? I think it's a big issue here. We push it up to those guys that make all the big bucks. Let them decide.
That hurt us. I mean, $500 for goats?
I have a question.
Yes, Jim.
This doesn't apply to all R1, it's just the small lot. So why was that carved out in the first place if it wasn't to protect the rights of the property owners? I know our codes are not annotated, so we really don't have a lot of notes. And there's no Shaq Says book or Betty Says book that we can look at.
Yeah,
But there has to be a reason that we have this. And it's that folks bought the property with the expectation that a small R1 would be treated differently and more restrictively. And I can appreciate that there might be a larger lot that's R2, or that's A1, or that's R1 beside it, but that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that this is a small lot, R1, and the restrictions have to be there for a purpose.
yeah, and that's exactly why I was getting at how much you have done to prevent the neighbor having any adverse effects from what you are applying for.
I do
Because
a lot.
I think, Jim, what you're referring to is the neighbors' rights. The R1 neighbors.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
small
But-
lot.
Yeah,
Like I said, I mean, they got a chicken coop, they had chickens on their
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, but that really doesn't have anything to do with the issue at hand.
Right,
It's-
right, but it's less than 2 acre lot, and they should have,
okay. Any further questions?
I guess just a comment.
Okay.
And then, it sounded like a broken record, and just ditto and pretty much what has just been said. Particularly after looking at the lot today, I mean, I was kind of thinking not so good, and after looking at the lot, I think the way it's laid out, it appeared to me that it was okay. The problem is, I think, is that if we say okay to this, and because he's gone through the SUP, I think that is accountable that, you know, that this could go through. At the same time, if we let this one go through, the next one that comes up, I mean, this could be a very good case of approval. But the next one that comes up, despite of what we do with the rest of this next thing coming up, the next one that comes up might not be the same scenario. It might be an R1 with really nice houses beside of them, and are we gonna be able to say no to that? You know, I mean, it's a case by case, and that's what we're here for. And as far as I'm concerned, we're here on a case by case SUP.
That's why it becomes an
And-
SUP.
And that's one of the reasons why I would be inclined to say yes to this, but as long as we're gonna be able to, in the future, say no to one that's not as acceptable as this one. That's the only point that I'll try to make here.
and that's what I explained with Alan. I mean, he explained it to me. I mean, why would I have to pay the $500? I mean, I understand, he explained it good to me. I mean, this is why I have to pay the $500. It's a lot of work that went into everything.
I would also like to make the comment that if we were to approve it, I would like to put some kind of a cap on how many goats could be there. Because I don't think that should just be opened
Right.
to any number. And we can talk about that or whatever.
Well, there are, and that's a good point. There are two administrative things we have to deal with. The whole issue of enforcement of all the ordinances. I mean, our planning and zoning has got a full plate as it is. So we're looking at having to have another person to do the enforcement issues. And if we have to do that, we have to do that. I really object to the proposal and some of the thought behind the rationale in favor of this, say, well, we'll just turn it over to animal control. Well, you've got that right now, and I think that's dodging a bullet that really is not an animal control issue. This is a people issue that we're talking about here. That's why we have the zoning.
Well, the only thing animal control can do about it is if they're being well kept or not.
Yep,
They have
that's right.
nothing to do with how many's on there.
And nothing to do with the people.
Nothing to do with that.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, a question, and Mr. Nicholson, maybe for you as well, and just personal view here. I support the ordinance. I think ordinances are important for checks and balances and honestly to give neighbors their rights as well. I mean, we're all entitled to our property rights and we're all have to be protected in some way. It sounds though to me like the broken record is actually on this one, maybe more of the fee that's more of egregious. And so my question, I guess, to you, Mr. Nichols, and I know this is probably going to go up to the board and bigger discussion is even possible. If this SUP, the case we're discussing tonight, goes through and there's an ordinance change, and let's say the ordinance change has a financial edit or change where the fee goes from 500 to 25 to 50 or whatever, maybe it's per animal, would this applicant be able to hold their permit until that ordinance is changed and the fee could be changed, if that seems to be the pain point here?
Fees are at the discretion of the Board of Supervisors. However, I will say that it would be a terrible precedent to start refunding applicants after the fact, after you've held all the hearings and completed the process, because if you change another ordinance in the future, how far do you go back to give people their money back?
Yeah,
So
that's-
I'm sympathetic to Mr. Fuchs' cause, but I think that opens another can of worms that we don't want to open.
Because the applicant's already paid. I'm saying if we pause this until the ordinance, I know this thing's been paused for long enough, but if he withdrew the application and then we changed the ordinance and that was part of it, But the fee has already been paid, is that what my understanding?
If the application is withdrawn, then Mr. Fuchs will not be able to keep the animals he has now. All action is paused pending action of the Board of Supervisors, which by our ordinance is required 180 days past when the application is tabled. So we're coming up on that date with the public hearing that must be held in early November in order to meet the requirements of our own ordinance. And the whole point is not to let things linger on with the applicant, hanging by a thread for, perpetuity. He's got to be able to have a decision made and go on with his life too.
That's clarified, thanks.
I personally would not be in favor of having different prices, if that's what we're talking about, having different prices for different SUPs. I mean, if that was any thought of that, how would you determine which SUP would have a lower price than another? I mean, that would have to take a lot of thought in itself. So I think an SUP price is an SUP price, and if we have to lower those to make it affordable for everybody, I think it should be one for all and all for one, I mean, that's just my thought.
But then you also gotta look at 4-H also. I mean,
Well, that might be a whole different issue.
That is a
That's
different
in a-
issue, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's, I mean, my kids didn't, we grew up in a city. And my youngest one loves the goats. He got into fishing, but my youngest one, he likes the goats.
So, Steve,
Yes.
ask you a question. So, if this guy has got 7 goats, or any guy's got 7 goats, and they are on a piece of A1, they have a right, by right, to have them goats on A1. The guy that's living next to them that's on R1, he's got no right to tell them they can't.
Correct.
That's right.
So you start talking about, well, people's got rights, this or that. Well, the guy that's got the A1, he's got rights, and he can have the goats, and the guy in R1 can't. So he can't stop that guy from having the goats beside him.
Also correct, yeah.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I get back to the SUP just for a second?
Yeah, since that's what we're here for.
Currently, there is no conditions on this SUP, is that correct, Alan? First,
That is correct.
okay, all right, so if you all want to put someone in there, that's fine. But to answer your question, Mike, is whether, this one's a yes and another one's a no. I see 2 big things in this one that, would be a yes, check the yes box, and that's the topography and the fencing that he's done. Okay, that's 2 big things, the way it's laid out, and the topography and the fencing. So, I mean, there are disqualifiers, there are things that you could look at in the future, I think, that would disqualify or qualify.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate, so by nature, our A1 zoning district would be lots of 3 acres or more. And so the fact that some are, non-conforming lots is kind of where it's like, I don't want to use non-conforming lots to think about this too much, but, yeah, with the special use permit, I would be inclined, honestly, I was looking for Mr. Cave's note, actually, or letter that he wrote, and then I got distracted, but, it seemed to be, Greg Cave, our, Chief Animal Control Officer, seemed to think that the 4 to 5 goats per acre, he cited as the general rule of thumb. And so much of that's subjective too on how they're cared, how they're cared for, size of the goat, I mean,
Yeah.
and stuff, but I just wanted to point that out, and then I would absolutely, put a number on the special use permit in that recommendation of somewhere between 5 and 7, I think is where I'm at.
Is this supposed to go to joint meeting for approval next meeting?
Correct. This is scheduled for the November joint meeting.
So I think at that point, we should probably, tonight, come up with a number so that we're not doing this the night of the meeting. I personally would be in favor, if we were gonna go through with this, if this was gonna be a yes. He's already got 7. I couldn't say, either go ahead and harvest 1 or 2 to make it a lower number.
That's our options.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know how close you are to harvesting
And
one,
sell,
but
I mean, we got
right now, I would say if he's already got 7, let him have 7. Or that's just my quick thought. Anybody else has got anything else?
I'm just
Happy to
wondering
hear.
if you can support,
I'm sorry,
I'm just wondering if you can support why you're picking a particular number.
because that's what he's already got.
So if he had 20, is that okay?
No, he doesn't have 20. If he
Just
had
wondering.
20, I would say no, you know, I would say no. I mean, that doesn't mean everybody else would, I'm just saying no. I think 7 sounds like an acceptable number at this point.
I only asked the question because there may be a next one.
That's right, well, there may be next one that we say no to of the same thing, and that's what
Okay.
I was making the point out earlier. You know, we gotta be prepared that this one might be okay, the next one might not be, so.
Yeah, and one of the only things that we do have the ability to ask for a condition on would be the number. I mean, animal control controls the condition of the animals. They don't want us to mess with that. But we do have the chance to talk about a cap on the number of animals.
And Mr.
The animal control, Mr. Cave's email of the 14 July, and looking at 3.2-6503.1, care of agricultural animals by owner penalty. And he says, for an example, the keeping of goats on a 1-acre parcel should be no more than 4 to 5 goats minimum.
You mean maximum.
Yeah, he meant maximum.
He did write minimum.
He did write minimum, but no
But how
more
about a
than.
1.1?
Yeah, so
That'd be
1 basically a 1.2, but, you know,
Right.
what if I got a goat gonna have a baby, probably end of November?
Oh, so you're already getting.
So they're gonna be, we gotta go to the slaughter.
Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Smith's earlier point too about enforcement, because this, I mean, if this is a snowball that we're talking about rolling down a hill, down the road, it's going to be enforcement. If our enforcement officer is recommending, and he has data and state facts to back that up, and there's scientific reasoning why 5 acres on a, or 5 goats maximum on an acre makes sense, and this is 1.2, which would make it exactly 6 goats per that reasoning. I mean, I think in order to help Mr. Nichols facilitate enforcement, we toe the same line, that's probably going to be, hold the sanity for everyone on the enforcement front. And I'll say one other thing too, and I don't want to get into this too much. When we all buy property in Madison County, which if we're landowners, we have, we know what zoning we're buying. I mean, I bought A1 because I wanted the benefits of A1. People that buy R1 have to understand there are different, and yes, I know it's not fun to go down and read ordinances before you buy your property, but that is part of the due process as well. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about ordinance, but we voluntarily buy our property in this country, so I'll just leave that note.
I don't want to keep beating this to death, but when I read Mr. Cave's recommendation, I took that 4 to 5 goats per acre as, you know, like, not how big the lot was, but how big the pasture and/or mix of land was. I mean, somebody could have 50 acres and put 50 goats on a half acre if they wanted to. And I, you know, took it as that area that they had access to.
I'm sure that's what he meant.
Yeah. And just one other thing too, and I know I'm not in favor of just striking the 5-2-1 livestock on less than 2 acres. But I didn't know if anybody else was just in favor of doing that and moving on.
After our last meeting, that has to be a separate issue anyway.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Staff's recommendation for the special use permit was strike 5-2-1.
I think we've got some time constraints on that because we already looked at that, got it referred back to us, and we have to have some resolution of this at the joint meeting, so, which means we're meeting a time limit here. Are you willing to consider a cap on the number of goats and maybe the
I
number of
don't
chickens?
mind it. I mean, truthfully, I'm actually borrowing 2 goats because it's too much grass. My 5 goats didn't eat it all. I still had to go up there with a dang lawnmower. So, I mean, 2 of the goats I'm borrowing. But, right, I actually have 5, but, you know, there's gonna be another one that's gonna have a baby. So, you never know. I think the number should be 10. It's a huge area. I mean, if you're gonna go case by case, I mean, it's a huge area. I mean,
Yes,
I guarantee my neighbor will let you know if I go over that number.
Yeah. See, we're encountering one of the problems that we're gonna have in the future with this, I think, is when it gets to the Board of Supervisors, they need to have some kind of, right now, it's a kind of benign neglect attitude. If nobody complains, we don't worry about it. Which it's been going that way for a lot of years. And that's kind of the way the whole county likes to operate. If you're not bothering anybody, we don't want to bother you too much. Unfortunately, you encountered somebody that's not interested in having a good neighbor policy. Along those lines, it would be, I think, helpful in the future, especially as it moves up perhaps to the Board of Supervisors, if they do have some kind of clear-cut numbers that they can look at. This is it's a very special situation. These lots they're just too small to really be considered in agricultural use. I think that's why that exclusion is in there, asking for a special use permit. On the other hand, if you go somewhere else in Virginia, or somewhere else in the United States, or anywhere else in the world, an acre can be considered a farm. So, there's some definition problems with that. There are
A lot has to do with the care. I
Yeah.
mean, the care is number one.
yeah.
I grew up on a dairy farm.
We have no, we talked to our animal control officer, and Mr. Nichols has talked to state level people too. And basically, they tell us, don't mess with that, that's not your bailiwick, you don't belong there. So if we try to say anything, it can't be conditioned on the care of the animals.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is helpful or not. Possibly an alternative to saying a certain number would be a condition of the SUP is that the goats are going to be cared for in conjunction with VDAC's guidelines and Virginia state law. And that,
Okay.
so if there's an issue with, if he's got something that turns out to be not enough space for the goats, and that's what our animal control officer says, then that could be a basis to pull the SUP. I'm not telling you to do that, I'm just saying it might be an alternative to numbers.
Yeah, that's not us saying he has to do this, it's saying he has to comply with the existing ordinances.
And
So, yeah.
that his SUP is conditioned on him, I'll say
Being in
humanely
compliance with it.
caring for the animals.
Well, that's kind of understood anyway then, right? That's the way that it is right now.
But that wouldn't necessarily revoke his SUP.
Correct.
What Hannon's saying would.
Yeah, make it a condition, yeah.
Because I see, when you set a number, I think it's, what if I have 2 goats that have a baby, 2 babies, 4 babies, whatever? That's going to immediately revoke that SUP, that permit. And it'll put me in violation, all the animals got to go, right?
Mr. Wright, can I clarify on that? I'm going to put myself in the neighbor's position. Let's just say that Mr. Cave goes out there and 10 goats is fine. She complains, comes back out again, there's 11 goats, but that's still fine. I mean, what's the threshold for having a neighbor cease and desist in terms of how many calls Mr. Cave gets?
Right. I mean, if animal control doesn't see that it's an issue in terms of, you know, the humane keeping of the animals, then that avenue is foreclosed. Does that neighbor have a private nuisance right of action? I mean, that's always a difficult one for anybody to prove, but that's an avenue.
Yeah,
I like
I'd
that
to make
idea.
it-
Yeah.
Personally.
Would that be more agreeable to include the condition that you'll be complying with whatever Cannon said?
He had a good comment. I like it.
Yeah.
That was a great idea. I mean, why set a number? I mean, I see animal control would be out there. I mean, I guarantee it. I like that idea. That was a good suggestion. I mean, the goats multiply. They go fast, but we've done a good job on keeping that number low.
So you would be agreeable to that language as a condition?
I
in
like
the
that.
SUP?
It
Yeah.
sounded good.
Yeah.
It did. I mean, I don't want to say I spoke to Mr. Nichols about an idea that, you know, have animal control come. I was going to invite animal control to come out, look at my situation. I mean, but you were out there, so I mean, you seen it. It's a nice place. The goats are healthy.
So what do we think?
I mean, my
Yes.
personal opinion is I am in favor of supporting the SUP, and with the language that what Mr. Wright put in, I think would satisfy every concern I've had thus far.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Pete, any? Don't agree, okay. Any, you know, this is a workshop, so we're not going to vote, but we can kind of take a poll.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
That's-
Jim, what do you think? James?
Yeah.
Jim's looking something up.
No, it's
Okay.
fine. I don't think there's a, now, I think what Mr. Wright has suggested is the law in any event,
Yeah.
but to restate it.
Wouldn't hurt to have it in there, yeah. that
And I do
avoids-
want to track down what Mr. Cave has suggested as to 4 to 5 per acre.
Yeah, and that, the good thing is that gets us off the hook for trying to figure out a number, so,
And, yes, but, you know, here's another number, $500. I mean,
yeah.
I told Alan Nichols, you know, I'm okay with giving up the $500. Just, let's fix this. I mean, let's make it right. I mean, it's okay that, I mean, it was hard coming up with the money, but I'm okay with seeing the process through, getting some sort of resolution to it.
Well,
Yeah, you could be looking for some A1 property too.
I know, but, you know, try finding a property right now,
Yeah.
Madison. Good luck.
and unfortunately, you can't rezone it to
No.
A1 because it's too small, so. Now, you've kind of opened up two problems. See, we are still actually looking at this whole ordinance. But there's going to have to be a decision made on your application for the SUP at the joint meeting. So, do you want, you seem agreeable to what we said about the complying with the VADAX or whatever they call it, regulations, as opposed to having a cap on the numbers.
Yes, I definitely agree with what
Yeah.
he said on the regulations. I mean, animal control, I mean, if you're abusing your dog, animal control is gonna be there. If your dog looks sick or something, animal control is gonna be there.
And if, you know, in the unlikely event that your neighbor complains further, once you have the SUP, then that means that's a use that you are now allowed on that property. So if you want to continue, go on to the joint meeting, we'll bring the SUP before the Board of Supervisors. It sounds like right now, most of us are in agreement with recommending approval.
And I would like to add to that, it would go with the applicant.
Yeah, that's always a possibility with an SUP,
I'll be here November 5th.
Okay. So you're continuing, and maybe get with Mr. Nichols and work out the wording for the way you want the condition to be reading with your SUP, because it becomes a part of the record as the SUP. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Any public comment on this case? No, anybody online? They're not interested tonight. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, sir. All right, moving on to what we were talking about. Case number ZOA-05-25-03, ordinance amendment workshop. The Board of Supervisors has directed the Planning Commission to consider removal, modification, or retention of Madison County zoning ordinance 5-2-1 and 5-1-1. Okay, Mr. Nichols, anything to add there? I think we all know
Well,
what we're.
We've beat it up mighty fine. But yes, Mr. Chairman, I provided an email to the planning commissioners based on the feedback received by the board members at our last joint meeting, with the commentary that they made and asking for your consideration. So hoping for some productive discussion to come to a resolution. It is all there, and I hope that you've had a chance to review and to have some rationale behind some decision-making here, and we can move forward.
Okay, questions for Mr. Nichols? Okay, I guess maybe for Alan or Hannah, either one or both. It looked like we had two different problems. There's the issue of the 4-H or FFA or youth educational experience, $500 being out of reach for a 14-year-old 4-H student. And that seems to be a concern, separate from the zoning problem. Is there a way, is it legal for us to have some kind of, say, a temporary educational, we couldn't call it an SUP, but maybe a permit, something entirely separate, not an SUP, maybe an annual, 1-year thing.
I mean, you can have a temporary special use permit. That is a thing that is outlined in our ordinance.
Yeah, but that brings them back to the $500 application fee.
And 4 public meetings.
Yeah.
I mean, we can explore the realm of the possible.
Yeah.
And that is fine. And I'm sure Mr. Wright will chime in at some point, but at a certain point, and I respect the opinions of the other commissioners, of course, but I have a real hard time seeing where we need this particular ordinance. I don't think that we're going to see a feedlot on a small one. This is typically homesteaders and backyard animal keepers. And certainly if we had some kind of a large-scale thing that we take it to the logical extreme of what it could be, that certainly is the area where animal control will chime in. That's my opinion on the matter. To explore the what could be, sure, you could probably carve out an exception, just like as Mr. Snyder and others have pointed out in the campground ordinance, that there's a carve out for Boy Scouts. I'm sure some language could be changed. The problem is what level. It's easy to tell when a Boy Scout troop is camping. A goat in the backyard. What's the difference in the goat that is out there for somebody's school project versus their personal enjoyment for homesteading? So it's a tough thing to unpack and know which is which, or who you require to do what and why.
Well, I see Pete's point, and I agree with Pete, actually, that it's not fair to a juvenile, a young person. They can't be expected to pay a $500 SUP to to keep a calf or something like that, or a dozen chickens. So well, let me get some feeling.
So are we, I'm just make sure I'm keeping up with this. Are we saying that we cannot exempt FFAs and 4-H from, we cannot exempt them from a fine or from a fee? Is that what we're saying? We can or we cannot?
We're not saying we can't.
So we can.
We can. I think we just need to be, we got to be deliberate on how we're creating the language. And, like I hadn't even thought about it, but there was a woman that came at the last public comment and was saying, hey, think about the homeschool kids. So, I think we just need to figure out what we want the category to be to make that exception.
Mr. Chairman, I've been thinking about it as well, and we all talk about consistency, and even just a minute ago, $500 is the consistent, let's be consistent across. However, in this state, agricultural goods at the grocery store are only taxed 1%, which is a whole lot less. It's a reduced rate. My guess is that most of these animals that are going to be on R1 or lots less than 3 acres are going to be eggs they're consuming themselves, beef or meat or goat or lamb, whatever it may be, they're consuming themselves. So looking at it from that standpoint, why isn't it just a reduced rate? Why can't we just do a $25, $50, whatever the board deems necessary, but it's a reduced rate that is in line. There's precedent where the state reduces the tax rate by 80% for agricultural goods. We could have the consistent lower rate for all SUPs for animals in the backyard. Would include homeschooling, would include 4-H, FFA. Maybe $25 I know can be a lot for some families. But if we want to be consistent across the board, let's just make it a flat rate that's more in line with what agricultural produce in the backyard looks like, instead of carving out.
Well,
I
Mr.
had
Chairman, if I
drafted a
may answer
proposal.
Mr. Whitman's question, let's pretend that we didn't have other things on the schedule for the night. And we convened for one of these cases. The planning commissioner's compensation is published, so all but one of the planning commissioners gets $40 a meeting. We do 2 of these. The board members, similar, convene. We pay to advertise the case on 2 separate occasions, and it costs, the county money. Is it a worthy endeavor? Sure, we ought to do it, whatever it is, to let the young folks have their animals. Fully support whatever it is that we got to do to have them. But that's why it costs more, because the taxpayers pay for all of this process to be here.
But maybe not, we've discussed expedited cases before as well. Could these also not be in a fast-tracked?
I am
Potentially.
open to whatever ideas you want to bring forward.
My
But that is what-
proposal eliminated all that.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. This gentleman said he's got a son that's 11 years old, okay? How come he can't say, well, I'm gonna go on and do this 4-H thing, and I'm not gonna do this? This 11-year-old son of mine has got all these goats for 4-H project. So we compared apples to apples and oranges to oranges?
I actually agree with Pete, and I think that's why if it's consistent, even if it's 4-H or if it's one of us having chickens, it's the same.
And
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, and I agree too on that, Pete. But that would be up to the supervisor with 4-H or whoever, the FFA, or whatever it is, to sign off on it and say, this is part of this program. I think where I was at was somewhere in recommending almost pretty much exactly what Mr. Smith had submitted in his letter for that 5-2-1 amendment, which is roughly page 30 of the packet. And what I had envisioned was just administrative approval based on, a single document that's filled out by the person, by the supervisor. 4-H, FFA, scouting, maybe not et cetera, whatever, if there's any other organization to be put in there, I think that's fine. If a homeschool kid wants to have animals and they get, obviously, a neighbor upset with them or something or whatever, they want to just be in compliance, those organizations are good to be a part of, they're easy to be a part of, they're probably minimum to no cost on that. They probably get some guidance on the care of animals, all sorts of different things like that. But I was absolutely thinking administrative approval, one piece of paper, fill it out, sign it, file it, and that's it.
Other comments?
And no fee.
Yeah, or if it can be administrative, some kind of, administrative fee, $25 or whatever, like you were saying, might be a possibility. But anything that would reduce basically the workload of an SUP, and if you have and again, this is kind of what I'm proposing, if you have some kind of a different category, it's probably, it would have to be administrative, like Nation says. Annual, only for 1 year probably. Would have to have adult supervision of some kind. Somebody signs off on it. And we can't call it an SUP because as soon as we call it an SUP, we're into the full $500 and the 4 meetings, et cetera, et cetera. So is that something that we want to explore, that idea?
Yeah, it's pretty much what I'd propose.
Yeah.
Talking with Lindsay Kaufman, said she would be more than happy to monitor that and provide certification that there was indeed a project going on, or a Scout Merit Badge counselor, and she could probably do it for the homeschoolers as well. I think it makes sense that actually the student goes through the application process for her, just so that's all part of the learning experience of make certain that you're in conformance with the statutes and the law.
That's part of the education,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, if we leave it as it is, I mean, this has been the only case that we've had in how long now?
Yeah, that's
I
my
mean-
benign neglect. If nobody raises a fuss
Right.
about it, then.
So, I mean, the 4-Hers and the FFAs they've all been able to do what they wanted to do all along. And which brings me back to my point at the last meeting, is if it's not broke, let's not fix it, let's just.
If it's not broke,
we-
don't fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
It
if
would
we've been
only-
having a problem, I can say, let's really do something here. But if this hasn't been a problem other than this one case, so are we just creating a bunch of chaos here? I
It
mean,
would only be a problem on a small R1, less than 2 acres.
but my point is, I understand what you're saying, but my point is that we haven't really been having this problem. I mean, so if we open this can up, what are we gonna get out of it?
It's open.
Well,
Mike, I think all the 12-year-old kids in the county have been sitting home reading the ordinance and said, I don't have enough land to have these animals, and they haven't been doing it.
yeah,
And we want to create that pathway.
we need to hear from them.
Well, it's the same situation that we have almost everything we do. We can either be proactive or reactive. If it doesn't happen again, no problem. If it does happen again, we react again. So this is a potential. Do you think we're?
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. It hasn't been a problem up till now.
That's where I am. Just so everybody knows.
In fact, the current situation isn't dealing with FFA or 4-H or any of those anyway, right now.
Now, Pete brought that up in the
Yeah.
very first discussion. It was
Yeah.
a great point. So to avoid naive realism,
What direction do we want to go? Do we want to maybe ask Alan and Hannon to look at the possibility of creating something like this? Or just let it drop and move on to the next step of looking at the rest of the ordinance?
I think we should, because let's just say, what's the number we're acceptable with? 5 more people in the county that have neighbors that don't like it, and it's, $2,500 out of people's pockets for having chickens or goats? I think something, I think the can of worms is open, and
Yeah.
although it may only be 5 in the next 10 years, or 1 in the next 10 years, if we know there's precedent here, and it can be used, almost weaponized. I think that's our job as planning commissioners, is to make sure we're protecting everybody's land rights and also their personal sanity.
What
I'm
I'd,
not sure about the second part there.
what I'd done on the backyard flocks, I'd looked at the ordinances and about 30 of them throughout the Commonwealth. And patterned one here just so that they would be a by right in the small lots. The requirement of an SUP would stand except for the student, whether it's scouting or FFA or 4-H or homeschooler.
Okay, do we have any consistent decision here about asking Ellen and Hannon to take a look at this? To propose some kind of wording for something specifically taking it out of the SUP path, making it administrative, and looking at maybe a one-year temporary permit of some kind specifically for, not for the property owner, but just for a child, juvenile, whatever, to do. And this would be, you'd probably have to have some kind of adult supervision, you'd have to have some kind of sign-off. You might even have to have some kind of cap on the number of animals you might be dealing with. But is that something that, do we have any consensus about moving forward in that direction?
Mr. Chairman, I mean, what Mr. Smith has proposed, I think, summates that as accurately and as legally and as well as any one of us on the panel can do. I still think that in the SUP route, though, and again, I know it's the Board of Supervisors, and I know I'm not paying the bills, so it's easy for me to say, but I still think that consideration should be made on that fee if it's anything directly with animals and agriculture on the consumption of whatever product they're doing, but I digress on that. But I agree with Mr. Smith's points, and I think that would be a good starting point, and hopefully ending point.
Any disagreement with that idea?
I'm in favor of that. The only thing that, the redlining of what Mr. Smith actually proposed, so we're looking, and this is off of the subject of the amount of money. But if we look at the numbers, we're looking at 10 poultry animals at 20,000 square feet. So as we know, 20,000 square feet is less than half an acre. 10 poultry animals on less than half an acre lot, that seems like kind of a lot. And then once you move over that half acre, the way it's written is, well, now you can have 40 poultry animals on a half acre. And I'm not sure that those numbers are where we probably should be at. And the other thing what I don't like about that so much is the rest of our ordinances is not written in square footage, it's written in acreage. And I think if we were gonna write something like this, maybe we should put it in there as that, just say, on a half acre lot. That way, if somebody wants to look at the GIS, they can say, okay, well, I've got a half acre, not a lot, and we don't have to do square footage wise. So I think maybe if that was converted into an acreage number and not a square footage number, but I think once again, once we get over a half acre instead of the 20,000, I'm gonna go with a half acre. If we go over a half acre, we're gonna allow them 40 poultry animals, which I personally think would be a lot, but I would like to look at that number again.
Mr. Chairman, I would say, for me, I like the 521 recommendation by Mr. Smith. When we get into the poultry and stuff like that, I am a little less inclined to, I mean, I really just want to slide this in there. It's kind of my idea. Slide it in there, make a form, it's one piece of paper, doesn't take up a lot of room in the file cabinet or something. If everyone's inclined to, and I'm pretty much go along with the majority on this because I don't have real strong feelings, but I mean, I would just say about 40 chickens is not a backyard flock. Anybody can have 10 chickens. That's fine. We don't care. Everybody's entitled to 10 chickens. Go to Madison. it's fine. Anything other than that, to me, that just keeps it simple and nobody's really has to check a whole lot or whatever, but, we're not, a dozen? They don't use, every day and a half.
You're being optimistic there, yeah. It's only part of the year you can do that. All right, so, willing to ask Anna and Alan to kind of move forward for something like that, okay?
That,
No problem.
the number of foul per square foot, that's out of Roanoke statute, which I thought was incredibly liberal for a city, especially that city. That's what was there.
I just thought maybe people it'd be easier if somebody saw an acreage rather than square footage. It was
Yeah.
just a private note,
In case
that's
they
all.
didn't learn math.
Yeah, well, okay.
Well, I did learn math, but I have trouble remembering how many square feet in an acre, so. Yeah, there you go. Look it up, Google it. I'm a generation lost on that one too, aren't I?
So if you're doing 10 chickens, how many goats you doing? That's livestock.
Well,
And we've deferred that to animal control.
That'd be dead horses
Yeah.
So we heard a lady
Well-
sit back there the other night and say, I got 7 kids.
yep.
She's gonna tell her 5 of her kids can have a goat, the other 2 can't.
Depends on how many acres she has.
It's, if she's a small acreage, then
Yeah, yeah.
she ought to get rid of some of the kids.
Well, yeah, and we're, yeah, there you go. Keep the goats. Okay, we're conflating the two things again. Is there any objection to asking Alan and Hannah to look at this idea of something different, not an SUP, but specifically for yeah, chop, well, okay. So as a straw poll, let's say anyone opposed. Okay, straw poll says if you guys would look at that for us. Start with what Jim's got and we'll work with those ideas. Thank you. Now, the rest of this zoning text amendment. Back to the actual SUP requirement in this ordinance. Any ideas on that? We do have a couple more things to look at tonight too, so.
What exactly are we looking at?
Well, right now, it sounds like we've separated out this issue of the FFA 4-H kids having to deal with this whole SUP process. But we still have on our books ordinance 5-2-1 and 5-.
And backyard flocks.
And backyard flocks, yes.
That's about right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way it's written is not,
So it's just other livestock.
it's just other livestock, yeah, yeah. Or do we want to, I don't know, do we want to ask a standing committee to look at this? We were trying not to do that, but.
Which ordinance number are we talking about here?
5-2-1 and 5-1-1.
Oh, I thought we just addressed all that.
No, we're still just trying to carve out something for the kids.
I thought that's what you just asked them to come up with. I'm confused.
So,
The only real objection that I heard anybody talking about at the joint meeting and right now is having young people who are trying to raise maybe one calf or something, having to deal with the whole SUP. And so I was asking them if they would look at a way to find another pathway for that situation. Now, we still have the option of just taking that phrase out of 5-2-1. Be done with it, okay. All right, I see a nod, a vigorous nod there. No other vigorous nods.
No, do an educational exemption with a waiver, or with an affidavit. And
Yep.
if they can figure out a way to do it, then guarantee the board will go along with it.
That's right, and make,
And then that covers your 4-H, your FFA, your homeschooling, homesteading to some extent. If they'll sign the thing, then it takes care of it and it's a done deal.
and backyard flocks are legal, so our residents won't be scufflaws.
There you go.
All right, so you're suggesting within the existing ordinance, within that less than 2 acre problem that we've encountered, that we can make this a carve out?
Leave the rest alone, is that?
Yep.
And leave the rest alone?
Yep.
Jim, your language
Yep.
is on that too, right? Just, I make sure I wasn't losing one.
Yep.
There we go.
All right. Shall we consider that sufficient for the first workshop on this? Okay. I got an agreeable nod, okay. Yeah, okay. All right, any other discussion, questions, comments on that case? Okay, have we sufficiently confused the issue?
Well, I'm going
Yeah.
to reserve commentary. I know what we're supposed to do.
Okay.
Public comment. Oh, sorry.
All right.
So to backtrack from this, what we're talking about, just to review quickly, we're gonna leave it as it is with an exception of doing some kind of an educational
something for that.
wording to allow kids, to do some kind of exemption with an affidavit. That's where we're leaving this, is that right?
No.
No.
And backyard flocks, about right.
Yeah.
Of any
Some-
acreage?
Yeah, some of what Jim has talked
Just
about.
flocks, when you say flocks, we're
Just
talking about poultry.
Yeah.
Any number.
Yeah,
Well, they're working on the numbers, playing with
Yeah,
those,
Poultry numbers or numbers on acreages?
poultry numbers.
Just poultry numbers, bird numbers.
Yeah, because we're talking 2 acres or less. The rest of it's not an issue.
Okay,
They-
all right.
so when we get somebody here for SUP, based on this, when we put the board on the spot, I think it would be a good idea to have some backup for what they make their decision on. I think that's kind of what Jim was looking at, some actual facts and figures. that they
Yeah, do you want all that?
No, I mean, we've got it, yeah.
Well, no.
You've got more?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I've got the research.
Okay,
I'll get it to Hannon and to Alan.
yeah.
But Jim, this is only for pretty much closed animals, and that's pretty much what we're looking at, right?
For what? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then making the
And
backyard
peacocks.
flock. And peacocks, yeah.
No love cry the peacocks.
They shouldn't be considered livestock at all, or poultry. They're public nuisances,
They're
yeah.
foul.
Okay, is that agreeable then? Kind of leave 5-2-1, et cetera, and look at this, maybe put some of Jim's ideas in with it to provide some backup for the Board of Supervisors and for us when we do look at an SUP about this.
More than happy to do that.
Okay. Any objections? We ready to go? I'm more than ready to go, okay. Case number, oh, wait a minute, any public comment? Yes, sir.
Or strike it down.
Yeah, go ahead and say. At least we've got a public comment.
Gerald Fuchs, Madison. Or strike the ordinance down. I mean, I'm the only one that this happened to, right?
At this point, yeah.
Just an option.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right, any other public comment?
Have a good night, Jerry.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Esch, we'll get to you. Case number ZOA-05-25-01, Al Esch zoning text amendment workshop again. Al Esch has proposed changes to Article 7, residential multiple family R3, in order to facilitate more orderly development of housing projects. Alan, you want to add anything, or just go straight to Mr. Esch?
Well, let's go to the applicant.
Okay. Mr. Esch, would you approach the microphone, identify yourself, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Good evening, it's Al. I live here, Al Esch. I live here in the county, so I think you all have known me well enough from the past workshops that we've had. It's a privilege to be here. Tonight, I've invited Roddy Reyes from Bowman Engineering to help us with some questions that you guys might have. There was a lot of questions that we had that I wasn't always able to give real good answers on. And so unless you have more questions for me, I would really like to open it up for Roddy to be able to answer any questions that you gentlemen would have.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Esch, or? All right, let's do that then. Thank you.
Don't we have another mic back there? We got two mics here, right? Each one of them. In case you want to chime in, Al.
Good evening. As Al mentioned, my name is Roddy Reyes. I'm with Bowman Consulting. Here to help out Al. Been know Al for quite a few years. And hopefully I can give you guys some insight or any questions you may have to help with any of the text amendment you guys are working on.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and kick things off, and I thought, and maybe I zoned out for a minute, I thought we like Alan would make a comment on the thing first, because I had a couple questions for him. So whether Alan wants to answer, or Mr. Reyes, whether you do. And I just wanted some clarification when I was looking in the, when I was looking in the Madison zoning ordinance, and more specifically, Culpeper earlier, I saw a couple terms. One was like maximum coverage of a lot, and then the other one was open space, and I didn't know how those related necessarily to each other. It seems one of those numbers would be enough.
I'll try to answer that if you want to chime in after that. Maximum coverage of a lot is for the individual lots that you're creating. And then the open space is for the overall large tract of the land. So you will have your open space requirements for the whole tract. And then the lot coverage is pretty much covers how much of a house you can, build, so it includes your house, driveways, patios and stuff like that. So there's a certain amount of coverage that you can only build on the lot.
So lot coverage would more apply to like single family
Correct.
residential, and the open space would apply to multifamily and apartments
That
or,
and whatever the residual parcels, that you're gonna create.
okay. All right, thank you.
Kind of following up on that real quickly. Let's say we're looking at an R3 parcel where we have all of the above. You have some townhouses, you have single-family dwellings, you have maybe small apartments as well. Kind of tell us how the lot coverage versus the open space is going to work in a situation like that.
Sure. So for lot coverage, and you can have different lot coverages for the different single families, townhouses and stuff. So really what you're trying to do with the lot coverage is get a certain amount of green space on the, property owners are gonna buy the lots and stuff like that. The open space, when you create an open space requirements, whatever that percentage is, that's for the whole community of the development. And within that, you can have recreational amenities, trails, whatever amenities that will be maintained with the development.
Mr. Chairman, on that same note, is green space, when we're talking about the overall community, what does that include? And specifically, I think we had questions about waste, stormwater management, roads, sidewalks. Is all of that encompassed in to meet, what is our requirement right now? Mr. Nichols, is 40%? 40%?
40% in this district, yes.
So I guess green space and open space sometimes get mixed up. Typically, open space, it's stuff that you're gonna either create a parcel or you can put in easements, that it will encumber stormwater management facilities, tree save areas, trail amenities, recreational amenities that are, and you can differentiate between open space in terms of some call it active open space and passive open space, where a certain percentage of the 40%, has to be, a certain active open space where you count your trails and recreational amenities, but the rest could be, wooded areas that you're preserving, and some of that may go towards your stormwater management, some of it go, in terms of your forest that you're trying to preserve. The green space that, you're mentioning on the lots and stuff, that you're not including that in your calculations of the 40% open space.
So I'm going to dummy it down really big. So green space could be in the individual lot, that could be a tree in someone's front yard they planted, that's green space,
Correct.
but it's not open space.
Correct.
Okay.
And not calculated with it.
Correct, it's not calculated, correct. So you can have, let's say, if you set out a parcel and easements, you have 40% open space, and you add all the green space, I mean, depending on the size of the lots, I mean, you could be like at 65% in green space. Once you start adding all the individual lots, what their percentages are allowed.
So basically, what we see up there in the green color, that would be open space.
Correct.
And so there's none of that open space inside of any of that yellow or red, obviously, or anything like that.
Correct, in terms of the calculation. So in the yellow area, doesn't show it, but, if we
That's
draw
only
the
green
actual
space if
house.
it's not a house.
Yeah, yeah, that's the whole lot, so there will be a house, but, if we color it in, there'll be some green within that lot too.
So the green is open space?
The green,
Yes.
yeah, the green shown out there, that's the open space area, correct.
Okay, one of our supervisors, when this was sent back to us, said that we should consider the open space requirement to be set at 60%. What are we looking at here?
So Jim, one of the things that we have to think about is if there's 100 acres. So right now, the way the rules are written, out of those 100 acres, 40 acres need to be reserved for in perpetuity. Can't do anything with it other than having a trail and a campfire, whatever. Like, it is not usable. And that is the green space that you see on the that's the green area that you see on the exhibit up there.
Hey, Al, you said green space and you said green area and you said open space?
Yeah, so the open space is the green shaded
Open, okay.
area on the map.
I think Jim wanted to know, what's that calculation right now? Is that the 40%?
Correct.
The way that this is drawn right now?
Correct.
But feasibly, it could be 60% green space if everybody put a tree in a front yard? I mean, is that what we're?
So that's where we have to be very clear, and I think it got muddied up the other day really bad. We got to be really clear on, are we okay with the 40% open space? And I think the supervisor is okay with the 40% open space. It had got confused with green space, because if you really went and added up the green space of the whole project, you'd probably be at 60 or 65%. And so right now, the way the zoning rule is written, 40% must be reserved for in perpetuity for nothing other than stormwater management and nature trails and whatever, non-buildable area.
Can I ask just a question for the crowd, whoever? Do we consider stormwater management as part of the open space, the 40%?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, now I'm going to ask again, I'm not into construction or building or this, as y'all can tell. Let's just put it a hypothetical, because I don't want this is probably a sensitive question. As a developer, hypothetically, would you, to be feasible, to be profitable, because that is, we're all in business, or this is a business, what's more important, a 40% threshold that stays at 40% or a lot size that is 8, 10, or 12,000 in terms of what a developer may say, yes or no, we can do this?
I think what the developers are looking for, I mean, really, when you go into 40% open space, it's considered like a cluster development. So you're trying to get more open space areas. The lots are smaller because then you're reducing your development costs on roadway frontages and stuff like that. So you're trying to, preserve the trees, preserve the, streams, and you preserve a kind of buffer around the property, so that way you can get the more compact area in your townhouses and single families and stuff.
Okay.
Because where your development costs, what they're looking at, the big cost is the roadways. The more roads you have to build, so if you have larger tract of, lots and they're bigger lot widths, you're building more road, more infrastructure, more utilities, and that's where the development cost increases makes it harder to develop.
So that's the efficiencies or economies of scale against whatever your shared costs are within the development, the roads, the utilities?
Correct.
You made it actually clear.
And this also helps, once you go this route and you cluster, it's also for, VDOT maintenance and stuff like that, they become public roads, so there's less road to maintain, less utilities to maintain and stuff. So it's a better type of development.
No offense, Al, he's better than you.
I'm going to ask some dumb questions occasionally, because a lot of this I don't really understand. Of the two, lot size, single-family lots, of the two, which is going to be more important in terms of your road development? The lot width or the total area?
So the lot width plays the big factor, because then the wider it is, they're building more roads, so that's typically, you're looking for, to reduce the lot widths. And then there's a balance, so you try to get a mix of different house types, so you can, sell different type of products. So even though let's say you set a minimum at, let's say 50, for example, and then, the builder may want a mix of, this minimum 50, but the next lot may be 65 or 70, so they can get different house products on there.
Okay, and we already discovered that what we have now gives us, if you run some numbers, it gives you a ridiculous lot, unbuildable lot, basically.
Yes, typically, the lot width is really what hurts you here.
Yeah, 150-foot wide lot at 10,000 square feet doesn't work, okay. And so the width is the key thing then?
Correct.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I got a question. So I was talking to Al the other day, and I was the one that would like to see 60% open space. We talked about it. So, and when Al explained to me, but does it compute? Okay, so you got the 100 acres, say, and 40 acres are in open space. And now our ordinance says that buildings cannot cover more than 35% of the total lot area. So it leaves 65% of each lot that is green space. So would that green plus the 40 open equal what I'd like to see as 60% green/open?
It could. I mean, if you start adding all the lots, I mean, if you go, I haven't done the calculation, but we can take all those lot areas, figure out what the percentage would be, and figure out, all right, how much would be green space, and come up with a percentage based off of that.
And you could probably increase that by going possibly from 8,000 to 10,000.
Correct, yeah.
If that number was off a little bit, you could make that square footage of the lot a little bit bigger and make that number.
Right.
Increase what?
To get the percentage that you're looking for, yeah, in terms of green space. It can go either way.
Increasing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because if
okay,
you're putting the
increasing the
same
lot,
size of
yeah,
house,
but not
say,
the
on a
footprint.
10,000 square foot, then
Right.
8,000, you've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
more green space.
Well, that's what it's always already sitting at, it's 10,000, right?
Well, he's proposing 8.
I know.
That's the point I was trying to make is if that number didn't come up to what you wanted to look at, for example. And along with that, so the ordinance also reads, the site for any multiple family or single family attached dwelling. So is there a definition for the site? I mean, do we have a definition that says, the site is obviously more than, is gonna be an area that we're gonna be doing this in? Or is this over 10 acres? Or what kind of lot development are we looking at? to come up with
Mr.
a
Snyder,
site?
if I may chime
Sure.
in on your question there. So for any kind of a project like this, we're going to require an engineered site plan. Our site plan, and this is all in that email that I sent to y'all a couple weeks ago. Our ordinance has a number of points in there that require, as a part of the site plan, the open space area to be designated as a part of that common plan of development. So yes, it is defined what it is.
I'm not really talking about a site plan. I'm just reading the way that the site. And I don't know if you answered my question and I'm not getting it, but it says the site. So could the site be on one of these other 8-acre?
In developing
Parcels.
something like this, the site is all of it.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But if the same thing came through on one of these other 8 acres, does that still cover the same thing? Is that still a site?
What
Or is
other
that down
8
to an
acres?
individual that isn't regulated by the 40% or whatever we come up with?
So I want to answer your question. Clarify what you mean by other 8 acres.
Well, we're not just talking about this. If we do this, we're talking about changing R3. So that's all these other things that you came up with, all these other lots. We're not just talking about Mr. Esch's property.
Sure.
We're talking about all these other ones. So how many of these other lots, and I just use an 8-acre example for one, does that 8-acre, does that qualify as a site?
Sure, I
for
mean-
an attached dwelling that would fall under 40%?
There's a threshold. If you give me just a second, I'll tell you. But it's early
Okay.
in our site plan ordinance, and it tells you how many homes requires a site plan and common plan of development. And I think the answer is 4, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll
Where
find
does
it
the
for you.
15 come? There's a 15 number in there somewhere.
Well,
for something.
15 requires public utilities, that the developer shall construct public utilities. That's the 15 number I think that you're referencing.
Okay.
But it's a
Could be.
lower threshold to require an engineered site plan.
I'm just wondering where when in the approval of all this, and I think you're gonna look up what I wanna know.
Yes?
Yeah, and we have a maximum number of units per acre too, don't we?
Also,
that's
yes.
4,
Yeah,
isn't it?
is that the
Or,
4?
no, it was
Or was that 8?
5, that was
8.
8, was it? Yeah, 8 townhomes
Yeah.
or attached dwellings. And no more than 8 dwelling units within, I think that's in an acre, is that right? That's 733, maximum building groups.
I want to come back to that.
Okay, I'm gonna ask another dumb question. The open space that's left, that is continuing to be owned by the developer? Is it a HOA? Is it a, I mean, how does that normally?
So
dealt
for
with?
developments like this, it would be part of the HOA, maintenance. You know, and some of it, you know, will be, depending on how you design it, it will take part of it for stormwater management. So there'll be easements on top of it that allow for the state, you know, to impose what they need to do for their requirements. But HOA will maintain whatever the parcel's created for that 40%.
Okay, so the key word that I picked up earlier was you're thinking in terms of community, a community.
Of course.
So there's a organization which is responsible for maintaining the community and so forth. Okay.
So let me ask a question. Is wetlands and unbuildable land considered open space?
Yes.
Okay, so around here, it would be quite possible to have lots of open space where you can't build.
Right.
Yeah.
But roadways, impermeable substance is not open space. Is that
That's
correct?
But stormwater management is, yeah, okay.
And I think that's one of the reasons for trying to lower that lot size a little bit, is so that you can stay back from the streams and the bad areas and everything like that. And we're able to do like Roddy said, and have a little bit more cluster housing rather than being so spread out.
Mr. Nichols, question for you. I think you're about to answer Mike, too. I've heard so many numbers now, I'm confused again. Is 150 is what we currently are on the width? Yes.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And then in this proposal, 65 is request, and then 8,000 from 10,000, just so I know what everything.
Correct. Yeah, I'll put it up there on the screen so we can all look at it, what the changes. But to answer Mr. Snyder's question, a site plan is required for any development, and a development is defined in part by one that is to contain 3 or more residential dwelling units under common ownership. So if you're going to take a piece of property and divide it up to make 3 or more, you're supposed to have a site plan in place.
So, okay, I get that. Is that still, when this thing comes in and says open, you're talking about a site plan? Now, is that the same, when you talk about site plan, is that the same thing that this ordinance is saying, the site? Because is that the same thing? If you'll read 732. you'll see where I'm talking
732,
about.
okay.
Because we're not really talking about a site plan here, and I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing or not.
Open space requirements. The site for any multifamily or single-family attached dwellings. Yes, this is the site as the whole. So if we're going to use Mr. Esch's concept as an example for discussion, it would be the entire property before any subdivisions occurred or development. Yes, that is the site. It is the entire area.
I understand that, but where does this site, what's the threshold of that site? What's the minimum?
If you're going to make more than 3 units that are under common ownership upon development. So it's not like, if you were to cut off a single lot, it's now owned by somebody else, and they want to build one house on it. It's not subject to the same site plan requirements, but the other requirements of the R3 zoning ordinance. But if a developer, which is somebody who's going to do multiple units under common ownership, is going to do more than 3, then yes, you have to submit in requirements with open space and what have you. Because if you just have a single lot, you're looking at lot coverage and not open space as referred to a site.
So then what you're telling me then is, under 731, we can allow no more than 8 dwelling units per acre. Okay, so if we decide that we're gonna put 6 on that acre, 40% of that, the way it's written now, 40% of that 1 acre has to be remained open space.
Sure, I mean, on a single acre, there's other challenges to contend with.
I understand that, but
But
that
in
still
prin-
defines
in
it as being a
principle-
site.
In principle, yes.
Okay.
All right, I've got a really dumb question, I guess. So, Al, the conceptual plan, this is how you would have to execute it if, under R3, without any changes, the first one,
Slide that down 1 or up
1,
one,
Yeah.
whichever one it is.
right? That, all right? And now this is the one that says amendment with the changes that you're proposing.
Correct.
Now, my question is, the citizens that are gonna fill this place up are gonna freak between this and this.
Correct.
So, explain to me, how that is good. I mean, I really had no problem with, changing the lot size and the width and all that stuff, because I understand it. But the people, they're gonna freak when they see this. So, peel me off the ceiling.
Well, that might be kind of difficult to do, but the point is,
Yeah.
A cannot be built.
What's that?
A cannot be built. It's cost prohibitive. You
okay.
can't, you simply won't do it because you can't do it.
Because you'd have to sell the places for way too much.
Yeah,
blah,
the
blah, blah.
land, I mean, the lots,
Okay.
you would have so much in the lots, you couldn't do it. So
Okay.
one of the arguments that we have, and we went around the room, and some decide it's important, some don't, and it's fine. I respect whatever your opinion is, but that's not affordable housing. Nobody can afford that. And so that's just the bottom line. I don't know how else to put it.
Uh-huh, all right. So,
And here's the thing, when we reduce the lot size and we try to make it a little bit more manageable, it's gonna be attractive to older people. Older people don't want a lot like that. They want trash service and, you know, all that kind of thing, and live in a nice, quiet neighborhood where nobody's allowed to park on the street and have their little house and backyard, and that's it.
so what could you do with what is currently zoned R3?
Well, if you, and Roddy might be able to answer this a little bit better, but currently only 30 acres. So really only 30 acres is R3.
Yeah.
The whole parcel is not in R3. It's only 30
Understood.
acres. So you could go over there to that 30 acres, and it doesn't make sense to do this, okay? But you could put townhomes, apartments with the zoning, with how our regulations are now. You could pack them on that 30 acres and stuff the units in there. Couldn't sell them all, probably not, because people don't want to live that tight. But that's what you could do with that. And on the 30 acres, how many lots could we get on the 30 acres? We haven't looked at that.
I can't remember.
15? I mean, it wasn't very many.
Oh, we just with the
Yeah,
single-family
with just,
lot.
yeah, just single-family lots. And so, a bunch of this was born out of that meeting, out of that acronym meeting that y'all have,
Yeah.
about when I came to see about rezoning the rest of the property, and there was a strong desire for single-family dwellings. I'm for that as
Yeah.
well. And the only way that we can make, single-family dwellings work is to make that lot size smaller. Like, it's just really the bottom line of it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in on that one because you keep saying the lot size, but earlier you said the width was probably more important. Quite frankly, to keep people off the ceiling, most of the counties around us are still at 10. So can you do a 65 and a 10 and still make it, hypothetically, for anyone listening, can you, if a developer came in here and said, if it's 65 feet wide but 10,000 square feet, can you still get to a magic number where that developer can feasibly take the project on?
I don't know if we did a layout for you on that scenario. I mean, it helps. I mean, the 65, the lot width does help. I mean, but in that scenario, typically when we see 10,000 square foot lot 65, then there's no open space requirements. So we wouldn't have as much open space.
So if you, in another setting, you wouldn't have seen a 40%, you'd have seen none? Or
We would see none.
there
Typically, yeah,
are-
for
okay.
10,000 square foot lots at 65, yeah, we wouldn't
Because,
typically see open space.
because the 10,000 is going to be green space from what you
Yeah, it's a
educated us
bigger
on?
lot,
Yeah,
yeah.
God, okay. Okay, but 10,000 square foot lot at 65 could get, I mean, you didn't say we're going to go bankrupt by saying that.
I haven't analyzed it to the last, so we would look to see what, how it would all fit within the, the streams of what we're trying to preserve, trying to still keep a buffer around the perimeter. We would lay it out and take a look at that and see
Okay.
what that would do.
You've been, I mean, again, no offense, Al, I love you, but you know your stuff.
He's clearer.
Earlier,
Yeah.
go ahead. No, go ahead. No, earlier, Al, you've been talking about starter homes, and now that game's changed after you found out how much that's gonna cost the county to old folks moving in here.
Well, to be fair, Jim, they did the public comment before y'all did your final spiel, and I didn't get to give you a rebuttal to the numbers that you rolled off. One of the things that I, just to be frank, that I disagreed with pretty strongly with some of your numbers and with Mr. Jewett's numbers as well, was that there was no account given for older people to live there. It was assumed that there was 1 point whatever children per home, da-da-da-da, on down the line, and I don't think that's fair, because I believe in a community like this is gonna be super attractive to older people. And I think that those are gonna be, your kids are gonna be in those apartments and triplexes and stuff like that. They're not gonna be in a lot of those single families. There may be some, but I believe those single families are gonna be way more conducive to an older population.
Nathan?
Jim was still rubbing his beard over there. I wasn't sure if he was gonna rebut that rebuttal, but.
Oh, no, we could restrict it to old folks.
Um,
Problem solved.
I just had a couple things. So I wasn't sure, Alan or Hannon. So in this case, this is a zoning ordinance amendment brought forth by the applicant. What, what power to ask or, to modify from, presented?
So the way I view it, and anybody can correct me, is wherever it comes from, whether it's directed from the board, it comes from you all, or it comes from an applicant, it has now entered our zoning text pipeline, and so we just follow the normal course of business at this point.
Fair game. Okay, I appreciate that. That just makes it easier, I think, for everybody to work together. And I mean, honestly, there's a bunch of people, and I'm on the line of that a lot of times too. I don't want to see 30 house development in Madison, you know what I mean? Like, oh gosh, but those, I mean, again, I live in Malvern. I've been there 2 years now. It's different, but it's, I've been meeting people in there, and there's a lot of older people in there, and there's a lot of benefits to that. They feel secure. I have a buddy that moved down from DC with his wife, and he said there's no way he could have got her to live in Syria. She would have been scared to go outside thinking a bear would come and grab her, That was the most country she would consent to. And, there's, security in that people look for, and they can be really positive communities within, the larger community of Madison, and I recognize that. That was it, thank you.
Yeah, kind of building off of what Nathan just said. I have also had an opposite kind of comment, in fact, quite a few of them, when we were doing the comprehensive plan. This idea of cluster housing and villages, in quotes. And quite a few of the comments that I heard were to the point that if we wanted to live right up against somebody, we wouldn't move to Madison. We would rather have some space around us, which is where we get the $250,000 houses. So, no, I'm 2 generations late. It's a $600,000 house now, okay? All right. This amendment would still give us, and I think this is going to touch on what Cardi was saying about the crowds, it's still going to give us a significantly increased density of houses compared to what we have in our current one. And there are going to be people who are going to be vehemently against that. So, and those are going to be in the crowd. What are you going to be able to say to counter that? Not just the economic situation, but just.
Well, I think the economics, though, is really where it's going to boil down to. And I think one of the things that we have to remember is that the board has pretty broad discretion when I come to rezone the 70 acres that remain, or the 60 acres that remain. I'm gonna have traffic studies, economic impact studies, community studies. I'm gonna have to produce all of those. One of the reasons that I haven't already done those is if I can't reduce that lot size and I can't get into a manageable subdivision, then I'm not gonna go spend $50,000 to do that. Like, that's why we're here first, going to that next. the point then, I guess, is with the economics, and Roddy can speak to this better than I can. In other localities, when you do those studies and those numbers come out of what those economic impacts and those kind of things are, the developer pays those per lot or per, and maybe you can speak to that a little bit, Roddy.
In terms of the,
Who pays what and how the rezoning is handled with the economics.
right, I mean, typically for rezoning, you have to, as Al was mentioning, you gotta do all these studies. And you need to offset whatever your impacts are, you know? And come up with, you know, a plan of how you're gonna mitigate whatever impacts you're creating for the community. So, traffic study, for example, we would analyze, you know, the surrounding areas, we would meet with VDOT, and have a scoping meeting with them, they'll have us look at surrounding intersections. So based off the community, in terms of the trips generated by the community, we would have to analyze and see, okay, it's gonna impact this intersection, you're gonna have to mitigate this somehow. Whether adding a traffic light or doing, VDOT loves the roundabouts, you know, doing a roundabout, you know, so they'll make you analyze that and come up with different, solutions, to mitigate your development. So the developer will be responsible for doing some of those mitigations. What their share is, for example, let's say there's an existing intersection that's failing already, you know, so based off the volume of existing right now and what your volume created, your fair share of costs will, you know, be calculated on what you need to put towards that improvement. Same thing with utilities and other stuff and, schools, you know, so we typically, any rezone, we gotta analyze all those impacts and come up with how we're mitigating that.
Very good choice on answer there, considering what we just went through with your neighbors in that area, as far as the roads and so forth, yeah. All right, that's a good start.
You have I know Clay's got a question.
Yeah.
No, I'll stay quiet at this point on this one. Your sales pitch is very good, but, and there's a lot of facts to it. I mean, I've run your numbers on your open space and green space, and that's excluding all your roads. Excluding your roads and driveways, which certainly do not count because it's impervious, you're at 79 acres that'll be green or open space. On the impact to the community, and y'all stroking, the developer stroking I don't know, schools are very expensive at this point. Stroking $100 million check, I just don't see, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I understand that it is a component of the impact directly of, and the failing intersections, which we may or may not have some of those. It kind of works in your favor to some degree as well, but I mean, it's interesting, but that's, I don't know about that one.
Can I
And-
throw in a
and-
quick comment? I've been trying to
Yeah.
butt in here for a while. So I was under the understanding that you had originally said that this was based on 100 acres.
It's hypothetical. I mean.
Well,
This is about.
the numbers of the 161 houses was based on, I thought, that piece, which was 100 acres.
It's about 100.
Well, I'm looking at 79.
93. Well, I added 6 acres back in the back.
But that's not part of this conception.
It's just not shown on this.
It's just not shown on there.
That's what I'm saying. That's not part of this conception.
That's correct.
Okay, because I was looking at the GIS on here, and it seems to be identical.
Yeah,
So
right.
what we're looking at here is 80 acres, a
That's
little
correct.
less than. And if you take away what you really have in R3, I believe you've really only got about 16 acres in R3 right here. It
No,
just,
it's almost 30.
not according to what Mr.
28 or 30.
Nichols brought up earlier. That what he gave us earlier was,
It'll require a closer look because there is a plat that's been filed on this property that shows the limits of the R3 to be greater than what the GIS illustrates now. So it needs further analysis that we've not
Okay.
done at this point. But it is reasonable to think there is much more R3 on the property than is illustrated.
okay, because what was written here, area not R3 was 62 acres. So I was assuming that 62.9 acres was A1.
I'm just taking
And
it off
we
the
really-
numbers that are available.
So I was trying to really figure out the nuts and bolts of this. Are we really talking about before any rezoning? Because we could approve the zoning ordinance amendment as it is right now, which really doesn't give you anything more than what I'm seeing is 16 acres to do this on. And not the 100 or 78 or whatever you're hoping for.
That's correct. We simply use this as a,
It's actually
a
real,
guide, a concept.
it's real good. Now, I don't think I ever remember anybody proposing something that is going to uniformly be hated by Madison County. And he's put it up here and shown it to everybody, and that shows just an amazing amount of transparency. And I certainly appreciate that part of it.
And it's been a distraction a little bit because, you know, is this what you're gonna see in the end? Probably something close, maybe. It certainly fits on paper. But really, the truth of the matter is we're really only talking about a small piece. It's, 38. I believe it to be 30. We have to look it up. But it's bigger than what it's shown.
I was just trying to bring it back to home of what we're really what we're talking about right now.
Correct.
Because that's not there right now.
That is
What's really here is what I'm apparently thinking about. So we can conceptually look at more. And we're not approving that right now, so we're approving what might be that.
My issue is still what I mentioned earlier, and it's not, it has absolutely nothing to do with this, but maybe everything to do with this, Al. And that's, if we look in the flesh language of our Article 7, it said, this zone shall be located adjacent to R2 zones, and I don't think it is. An R3 zone shall only be established where public water and sewer facilities are available, and they are not. And it shall be located adjacent to a major transportation route or a traffic collector to the county. And you've said that you have access to 29, so that can be fixed. But given where we are with SB 974, and that's the black swan that landed on this thing, I honestly think that we're much better off to look at this so that we don't end up where we were with the first case before us and do a down zoning, create a new R4 for this. Most of the R3 that we have right now, there might be a few houses that qualify for it, but I think the vast majority of them don't meet the legal definition we have our ordinance. And and it should be eliminated. We ought to down zone all of those things and start out afresh and fix it. Maybe have an R3 for those that have housings already on them. Sewer, water and sewer is a big issue. Who's going to get it and how much? We have to have some for development if we're going to get out of the quagmire that we're in. But I honestly think that, this certainly is meritorious, but it doesn't meet the statutory requirements in our ordinance right now, nor does any other of the R3 that's existing out there.
Part of what I would say to that is with the upgrade that's coming to the plant, water and sewer will be available.
No, but it's not. It said shall be, and it's
I
not.
understand that, but I can't help that they zoned part of it R3 in the 70s. And I bought it, and I certainly would be,
Is there R2 next to it?
I would be super opposed to a down zone, so, yeah.
Well, Jim, that's kind of where I was kind of getting at. All of that's kind of what I was getting at, is that we're really not talking, I mean, if you're looking to be able to rezone all that, based upon the same stuff that he just, it wouldn't qualify to be rezoned R3. So,
But if we rezoned it R3, and then the other conditions precedent come in after the fact, then it's skip and go naked for him. We got nothing we can say about any proffers. If we're rezoning it, then we can deal with proffers on the rezoning.
I was looking at all this earlier too, Mr. Smith. I appreciate you bringing it up, and I was thinking the same thing. What a great unpopular thing that would be to suggest a down zoning on all the non-conforming R3 lots. But to me, I'm not sure how many of them do or don't. It does say this shall be located adjacent to R2 zones or within or adjacent to existing towns, villages, settlements. And so to me, like we could look into, or council could look into identifying how adjacent to existing towns, villages, or settlements of Madison County. I could say, to me, this seems adjacent to existing town, but it does not meet because it does absolutely say shall have water and sewer. I know some of them have sewer.
Alan's given us a number of houses and the number of lots that are zoned R3. I think we need to look at, there's not too terribly many of them that do.
There's not, and
I suspect if we started to try to downzone, Mr. Wright would be old and gray before he got out of the courtroom. And if it was mine, he would be.
And he's a lot younger than most of us.
Well, and for whatever it's worth, considering the fact that the sewer RSA wants to commute across the half a mile of my property, I'm going to guess water and sewer is going to be on site.
And that's good. And as Mr. Smith identified, there's all sorts of other issues with how those taps get distributed or reserved to encourage business or a mix of development as opposed to being purchased and mothballed or whatever. So but just back to the zoning text amendment side of things. Mr. Reyes, I appreciate you coming down here, listening to all of our goat talk earlier. You'll have a story to tell your wife when you get home at midnight tonight, but I apologize about that. But Mr. Esch had said when he first brought this in front of the Planning Commission that, here's what I want to do because it will create a more orderly and a better development. And I was like, is Al you blowing smoke? Let's go, and I've been trying to sort that out. Is that true? And is that true with just the possibilities of development, not just what you guys are trying to do, but just development patterns in general? Obviously, what's going to sell is going to dictate what people will build, and that does fluctuate, I understand, when markets and economies and stuff. But so, in your opinion, does this, is that true, a true statement?
I think so. I mean, the challenges that you see in the areas around there, I mean, the cost has gone up and everything. Development cost, the cost of land, it's making development really hard and trying to get a mix of pricing for different houses. So cluster development really helps with that. Trying to, there's still going to be a lot of obstacles, and whoever the developer comes in, they're going to run their own numbers. But to create a cluster development gives you the mix. If you go with all 10,000 square foot, lots, you're only going to attract a certain price point, pretty much. By doing a cluster development, mixed development, it really helps open it up for, people that, can afford a townhouse, not a single family, you got people in apartments, so it gives you a variety of range for the community that really is becoming hard, for kids growing up to live anywhere, because everything is so expensive nowadays. So we're trying to find the balance, and I think a lot of developers are, to give the mix that helps the communities to get the people into homes that, that they can afford.
Then maybe we should create an R4, a new zone that you could apply for.
R3, R4, it's R4, then you're really looking more, apartments,
No, with R4 and would call it clusters and what you're proposing here.
Well, I think the R3, it's still, that's typically where you see your cluster R2 and R3 zones. R4, you go more higher density. It's set for, the townhouses and multifamily. I think you can still achieve, right now you're just looking at the zoning text amendment. I think setting aside what I was proposing, that's kind of, I think, cleaning up what I see some of the issues with the R3 zone with the lot widths. We're cleaning that up. I know Al's still gonna have a battle to rezone that, so within the rezoning, not only you'll have your R3 requirements, but there's other things that may come up with planning, with the planning commission, with staff, that you guys can enforce within the rezoning. And then that becomes the zoning law just for that land. So whatever gets, compromised and worked out, that's a special zone just for that because it was rezoned. And you can impose certain different criteria that you want to see to help that
Right.
community.
So, Alan, or actually, I guess, Mr. Reyes, so we've still got in our ordinance a maximum of 8 dwelling units per acre, so that still is a cap on some things, right? Or not? Am I missing something? Dwelling units could be 2 buildings with 4 units in each building, right? That would make 8 dwelling units on an acre, say, if you did a multifamily thing.
Correct.
Is that right? I mean, the 8 units, dwelling units per acre, what does that do for, what does that do for?
I mean, it gives you a higher density that, I guess, in theory, you can create, but it's not going to work with the single families. So really, it limits you to multifamily. Right. So then you're stacking a whole, apartment complex there to really get that density. And you're not getting a mix of, the singles in town.
Just only, just this portion of this concept.
I think one of the things we gotta look at just a little bit, if it is 30 acres there, and he gets water and sewer, and he decides to pack everything in that 30 acres he could possibly get in there, what kind of development would we have? What would it look like versus what he's proposing? I think that definitely comes into play, because you could pack a lot of stuff in there that wouldn't look that great, trying to make the numbers work.
They still have to conform to the
Open space and so,
Oh, but he could.
yeah, easily.
So if he's got 100 acres, and he
You
used
might be
30
right.
acres, he used 30 acres for R3, the rest of the land around it, he could put it in open space.
Is that,
Don't
No.
think so.
it is the same line.
It's the same piece, same tax map.
Now, so you're saying he would use the A1 zone to get the open, you would only be able to do it within the R3 zone, the open space requirement. 'Cause
Right,
the open space requirement is part of the R3 requirement. So he wouldn't be able to get credit for the open space area.
Let me, add to Mr. Yao's point, but with the 30 acres, let's just say that's where it stays right now. You could come in with a whole bunch of quadruplexes, or what are we 3-story max in Madison? Mr. Nichols, is that right?
Off
Yeah.
the cuff, I think it's 35
So you
feet.
could do,
35 feet or something like that.
so you could do 3-story apartments as well and just really cram it in that 30 acres?
Correct.
And that's all by right, as it's written today? Okay. And that would be, again, hypothetical, developer walks in here and wants to put that on 30 acres with the 40% space, would that be profitable and would be motivating to do?
I mean, for someone who does apartment complex, it could be, yes. It depends on, they do their market analysis of what the needs are for this area.
Okay.
It could be
So just like the one that's down in Greene County now, I think it's a retirement, we could have that same thing on Al's 30 acres.
with the current zone, correct.
And one of the things that I remember when Al first brought this to us, I'd ask him what would be the advantage to the county. And I remember one of your comments was that the way we're building out now, we get agricultural land being divided up and divided up and divided up and building your $600,000 house that we were talking about. And about the only place that I can see in the county that we're getting quote, affordable housing, $500,000, is legacy lots which are non-conforming already. And that's where I see the smaller houses going up now. And you said that this would maybe alleviate some of the pressure on the development of agricultural land into these larger. I would hope so. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a hope. That's what we were saying. And that's, your market analysis, I guess, is what you're gonna have to provide us to give us some idea whether that's workable. You know, because there's still the question that we have to deal with, is this going to be, if we do something like this amendment, is that advantageous to the county? I mean, I understand it would be for your plans. And the comprehensive plan does talk about cluster housing and developments like this, but it's very vague. So,
It also talks about no non-reimbursed costs.
yeah, which was also a nice dream, yeah.
No, Mr. Chairman, from my perspective, some of the questions that I had last time that I felt I wasn't able to make a good decision for the members of the county, or the residents of the county, I believe a lot of those were answered tonight in terms of clarification for this specific text for the amendment. So I think I've gone, and now I know Mr. Smith's points are valid, and I'm sure Mr. Wright and Mr. Smith could really get a quagmire with the legal and the utility services, but just for what it's worth, I feel a whole lot better on my decision on the specific text in front of us.
Alan, I was looking through the Culpeper's ordinance earlier, and it seemed to have like multifamily, I guess it's like basically townhouses limited to like 5 units per building. Do we have something, is that in like the site plan ordinance?
Nope,
Or
it's in R3. Give me just a minute, it's here.
I kind of looked through there and I could not find it. Which one? I printed it out though.
Yeah, it took me a second, but I'll find it for you here. Building groupings, I think is what it was.
Okay, so that basically the 8 units per acre then would apply to that building.
Yeah, I want to say it was lower than that. It's the limit of whatever's on Oots Lane. I could tell you on that before I could find what
Fit
is the
within
ordinance
the-
real quick, but.
Would fit within the 200 feet if they were a 16-foot minimum width too. But I just kind of liked that, and so it just made me think, like, I think this is good, but I think,
Yeah, it was 8.
you know, that there's probably, whether it's now or later, just some other language we may want in there to sort of direct this development. I liked the fact they had in Culpeper 8 units maximum per acre, but no building more than 5 units. And to me, if you're looking at developing something, that's sort of, you're not just getting basically like a wall of townhomes. It
Well-
forces you to break it up if you're gonna go
It
that
depends
route.
on what you want, what your goals are, because of course it's more efficient to build homes that are tighter together. So what are your goals? Do you want something pretty? Do you want something affordable? I'm not saying one's right or wrong, but you got to think about what you want. And the other thing that if you want to go down that road on, then we need to get some commentary from the building official on where some thresholds are on what you can and can't build, but does a drastic change in requirements. And so we need further analysis and discussion before we can go down that road, and to engage some of our knowledgeable folks on that as well. But, yeah, I would say that I think it's important, just from listening to all this, to really point your compass at your goal, decide what your goal is that you want to achieve. Mr. Esch would like more efficient building on a particular site. If that's a goal you want to pursue, then let's tailor it to do that. If you want affordable homes, then let's tailor it to do that. If you want to keep it pretty, then, the same. But I think that we need to, I think it's important that we clarify what the goal is, and then we can build it in pursuit of that goal, because it seems that everyone's got a little different idea of what a goal is, and all the ideas are valid, all the concerns are, but pick what you want.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, to me, I want an R3 ordinance that, outside people look at it and they say, man, this county really put some thought into this. They're, making things doable. They're protecting the citizens and everything, and they're impressed by it.
And I'll follow up on that, Tim. This isn't even directed to you necessarily, Mr. Nichols, but, I mean, we have the comp plan. The comp plan, in my opinion, is kind of our Bible for us as planning commission members and for the county, because that's what the residents have seen, that's what the board has voted on, so it actually has some legitimacy. And I mean, I do think right now for some of our growth initiatives, and Mr. Smith always brings in good points for, I'm not gonna say the contrary, but for reality, perhaps. Yeah, I don't want this county to sit here and just wither either, and our tax base is already just burdened enough, and we have to do something, and I'm not saying necessarily just for development, but pro-business moves, and I feel that does that. My compass points to kind of what Mr. Cowan said, the efficiencies in the zoning. However, I just want to kind of clarify this. Whatever we put in this text amendment, if we grow to agree one way or the other, the reality is that Mr. Smith has outlined utilities, a vote in front of the county, or in front of the Board of Supervisors on rezoning. Those are still two big impediments that could even, not even for this particular case, prevent anything from happening. Is that a correct assessment?
I mean, yeah, there's certainly a lot of hurdles to overcome before Mr. Esch could do the project that he's illustrated as a concept to show the why he wants what he wants. I think that whether you like that project or not, and much like I said to the board at the last joint meeting, I like to look at the application on its face. So if you look at all of the, we got the GIS up, let's look at this real quick. If you look at all of the R3 parcels that are here, I'm gonna click this just so I don't get anything messed up. What are you working with for R3 now? So your changes are going to affect the portion of Mr. Esch's property that's R3. And then you got a bunch of little ones that if sought maximum development, you're going to get a fourplex on somewhere, or you're going to get, a couple of duplexes, maybe an apartment, building that's small is your maximum development. That is likely, unlikely to come anytime soon. This here is the manufactured home park, massive drain field out there. A lot of that's not usable for development, and that's the second largest R3 parcel that you have. So I think that, just on the face of the zoning text amendment, without any considerations for what a future rezoning may bring, it allows other parcel owners to make better use should the water and sewer become available. But it's,
How many of the R3s have water and sewer?
a single one at the moment.
One?
One.
Okay. So they haven't lost anything if they're down zone?
I mean, no. Depends on what you downzone them to. I'll caveat with that, but essentially, no.
Well, most of them can't be developed to the point where they would reach the sewer and water threshold anyways.
Well, I do think that it's apt to point out that it is reasonable in the near future that some of them may have the ability to connect to water and sewer. And not to go off on a total tangent here, I'll be brief. But we're working with the health department now to get information on some of the properties that are in resettlement and Little Church, that little stretch over there. We've got some real need for public utilities there, some water and sewer. And so if the line is run to serve some of those areas with failing drain fields, Little Church runs right down the middle of some R3 properties there, then in very short order, it might be available. And that's probably a good thing for our community, that it is available in there. It's a designated growth area if we want it. And so, we certainly have a lot of citizenry here that could use some apartments or a duplex or I know that Mr. Esch's project, and I'm sorry for going a little off topic here, Al, but say is probably not going to be the most affordable homes because they're going to be brand new. New construction is always the highest of the market, especially if you're at single-family homes. But if you had some people build a few small apartment buildings or duplexes or quads, whatever, in some of these other areas, we got folks that are living here now in sheds. We got folks that are living in people's basements and things, and we have local folks that would take advantage of the bottom end of the housing bracket that are our people that live here. that's probably not who's going to buy single-family homes. But if the requirements of shaping these lots and density are altered to where we can utilize some of the other lots, I think it's generally a good thing. But one guy's opinion. Sorry, I went a little off track there, Zachary.
All right, we're looking at the, well, looking specifically at Al's again. That's what you've got outlined up there. The R3 is the kind of tan, is that what we're looking at?
Yes, sir.
The rest of that is it all A1 or is it all,
The yellow plots are R1
Yeah.
that are here. If there's no overlay, you kind of seek through it clear, that's A1.
all? So all
The
that's-
orange is R2. So you've got, and of course, the blue is MWP, that's light industrial. So you've got orange R2,
Yeah.
R3, R1.
So we don't have too many R3 that are adjacent to R2 as the statute requires.
Correct. Well, you've got this whole section here, which is adjacent to R2 across the bottom, separated by a single R1 plot. But if you, call them contiguous parcels here, then yes, a lot of this is contiguous to R2 as it sits. But certainly, your argument for public utilities not being available is sound.
Well, I mean, in terms of the downzoning idea, I mean, let's face it, these were probably zoned and then the ordinance was written. So,
Well, that's in the statement of
you know,
intent.
at the
so
time,
I
they
don't
were
know.
doing the best they could. And it's, just out of curiosity, does your A1 face on Gate Road over there? You don't have Gate Road, but you do have access to 29. Is it an easement or is that property that you have? 50-foot right away, okay.
If we create a new zoning, though, then we would engage in proffers for people who wanted to rezone. If we just amend existing zoning, then we're not in the proffer game.
Until he asked to rezone the A1.
Yeah, we're not talking just about Al, we're talking about
Well, yeah, yeah.
the problem that we have.
Yeah, the amendment language itself,
That
I
would
think-
change all R3s.
yeah, is, frankly, it's just fixing a mess that's there now. Because the 150-foot width and a 10,000-foot lot gives you an unbuildable lot, so. I mean, even if you were willing to try to do that, the house you could build based on your front and rear setbacks and so forth can't be done. So just in practical terms, some form of this request makes sense, whether it's 65 feet or 75 or whatever. I mean, we're just kind of picking numbers right now, but the 150-foot frontage is untenable, so. So that's one point in your favor of this amendment.
One thing I think that's worth noting is, and we should all be looking at as well, is just, and Madison is its own county, but it's just the surrounding counties' ordinances. And it seems as though currently, as things are written, what I've seen, our open space requirement is already more than some surrounding counties. And our lot width required at 10,000 square feet is actually less than some surrounding counties. It's also not uncommon to run into your R4, and they just kind of have things sectioned out a little bit different. So I've been having a hard time personally with that 8,000 square feet and seeing that within the larger plan of development in Madison. What that really looks like, when houses are being built, things are being developed. I don't really know. There may be no difference, really, I mean,
Go over there, if you want to see what it looks like, go over there to Orange at CVS right there and turn and go back there. Those are 6,000 square foot lots. And that was Samuel James Construction did that work back there, and that was where I was trying to find a balance between 6 and 10. 6 is tight. I mean, it's tight. Those houses are just, I mean, they're perfectly placed in there. Ooh, I don't know, 50, 55 with like a 5-foot setback. I mean, there's literally like 10 feet between the houses. But it's neat. It's orderly. It doesn't look bad. You drive back in there. It's a nice development. They have obviously some rules because I use them as an example of I'm pretty sure you got to park on the concrete or you ain't parking, because the one dude had a car parked sideways across his garage door and his 2 vehicles pulled up in the concrete. So you know, but that's 6,000, and I thought it was too small. It really is.
Okay, have we exhausted the topic for tonight? Any other question on this? Comments, discussion?
Just thank you again for coming in. I know it was a long night
Pleasure.
for you, like
And
Mr.
for
Cohen
your
said.
patience, yes.
Yeah, thank you, guys. And I guess, you know, I'd like to see where we go from here with Alan and see what the board is comfortable with, so we have an idea of what we're working with.
Well,
Okay, thanks, Al.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before we move along, if I can ask what your intentions are with this going forward?
Okay, gentlemen, do we have intentions?
I would have an intention to change it, yes.
Okay.
I do think the 150, I think that we're moving in the right direction. I'm in agreement to change what we have. This is a starter. Whether this is the right number or not, it very well could be. But I'm in agreement to changing it.
That's a direction we can go, yeah.
I mean, I think 150 is, if you're looking from the outside in as a developer, is just awful. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know what the number is either. And if I was spitball today, 65 and 10,000. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so
Well,
any further
okay.
guidance for?
So what I need to know is,
Yeah.
is what you intend to recommend, and you can discuss among yourselves certainly or whatever to figure it out, because if we give a range, that's mighty hard to advertise, as
Yeah.
we've learned before. So if you would like to recommend one way or the other as written, fantastic. If you would like something changed, then please tell me so I know what to advertise and provide to the public when asked.
We're not, we don't have a deadline to do this, right?
You do not have a deadline to do this, so you're more than welcome for me to continue it to another workshop. And if you have thoughts on this, you know, and you all are kind enough to send them to me, we can assemble some of these things so you can consider your peers before we get together.
I think we need to consider what the Board of Supervisors directed us to do, too.
I have notes on that as well, Mr. Smith.
I would just say, so I guess I have a question for the 6 of you. Yeah. Do we want to look at the whole ordinance? You know, again, we have the proposed, so we've sort of picked in on that. Or do we want to just sort of address this in front of us now, which seems to largely be, you know, focused on the lot width and a few other things, and then possibly make other amendments down the road, or?
I guess, do we know, Mr. Smith, is the 60% off the table, we're back to 40 as long as it's green space versus open space? Is that,
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, what do you remember other directors, Mr. Jewett or?
Yes, we need to,
Still working it out.
he discussed this according to the minutes, I think that were passed today. Discuss the potential impact of proposed changes on housing development, population growth. Further discuss detailed numbers on the potential population increase and effect on the school's capacity, public safety, and the other elements of fiscal impact analysis. Supervisor Buchanan said the need for affordable housing, but it wasn't defined, and to improve economic growth, and recommend the Planning Commission review this further. And both Vice Chair Yao dealt with the 40% open space, changed that to 60, as did Supervisor Dawson. And we learned a lot about what that means. Yeah. I think Dustin probably would be as well. I think he would be as well.
Mr. Chairman, if I may make a comment.
Yes, sir.
Along the same lines of what the supervisor said at the last meeting, Chairman Jackson indicated that he wanted to ensure the open space applied to the original tract and to get it recorded at the courthouse. So in other words, whatever residue is created in one of these site plans, that something be filed in the deed. And Mr. Wright and I were briefly discussing earlier that some additional language may be considered to be adopted in the ordinance to ensure that a deed restriction or something is filed to make sure that the residue is not subject to additional development later, when we all forget how that came to be.
How could that be? I hear what you're saying, but what happens there that could happen?
Well, let's, yeah.
Over here. So I guess your question in terms of when you create a parcel for open space, how do you control it in terms of restricting it for development? Well, part of it, especially for a development like this, a large plan development, it will go to the HOA, and you'll have deed restrictions on a lot of this, especially if it's open space. A lot of it will, depending on what we do, stormwater management, this wooded areas, a lot of it will go conservation easements typically, because you don't want to tear down trees and stuff like that, so you're going to try to limit it. But then in your development, the HOA will have their HOA docs that have further restrictions and to discuss maintenance on that. So, nothing can be built, or
My question is, if you didn't do the restrictions, if they weren't recorded, how could that come about that it would move on to more construction?
so if there wasn't like an HOA, you're saying? Or?
If they're not recorded on the plat.
Yeah.
Parcel.
Or,
Well,
you know, the
parcels would have to be recorded on a plat. You would have to create a parcel for the open space, and then it will be recorded with the overall development. Yes, with the deed restriction.
So the open space comes out of the tax base then?
In terms of the,
Property taxes?
yeah, I'm not quite sure how that works out. Yeah, I'm
Well,
assuming. There
we're
won't
kind of
be-
concerned about how that would work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the HOA would probably claim that to be, hey, we're putting this in conservation or open space in order
Of
for
course
it not.
they would.
Right, yeah. And I guess the question too is, what if all the landowners got together in the development? I mean, this never happens. It's a fantasy for a lot of people, but they decide to dissolve the HOA, what happens then, so. But I think we could probably work on some language to make, belt and suspenders to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, an HOA is a member-owned corporation, right?
Yeah,
So
they have
they can,
special status for.
yeah.
And when the sewer plant is upgraded and finished, the first place that's gonna have sewer is gonna be Mr. Ish and Jefferson Home Builders will be the first two places that will have it.
Like he says, they want the easement across your property, right?
Well, that's how we get there.
Yeah.
And there's other things you can do with a lot of this open space, other counties that, that they kind of hold some rights in there. So if they ever want to go and drill for wells for the community, it gives them the rights to come back in there and create well lots if they have to. So there's other things you can impose within that open space requirement to benefit, the community.
Sounds like, to me, we just want to look at the ordinance as a whole. There's not that many other parts, setbacks, entrance regulations, there's a few parts, and then maybe some additions that we need to add, so we'll look at the whole thing.
I agree. I think it actually should be a little bit more holistic than just some of the red lines that are in the text amendment. I have a question, though, and this is a dummy one for all of us. And Mr. Smith, I think you and Mr. Jewett have probably put in more time into the economics and the impact analysis. However, from my standpoint, and I don't know if this echoes the other six, I don't know if I consider them different, because I know they're not, and I know that one, the chicken and the egg type thing, but I'm completely lost when it comes to the economic development impact. And it seems to me
Well,
like,
there are two things. There's physical impact,
mhm.
and that's how it hits the county. And there's the economic impact, and that's the benefit to the citizens in jobs, added tax, revenue, sales tax, income tax of the new folks moving in. The fiscal impact just addresses those 8 primary areas of the county budget. And what we've done is looked at that on an average cost basis and looked at the demographics that exist, the number of school-age children per household, the cost per household. When we're knocking on the door of having to expand schools, an average cost analysis doesn't work. You really have to use marginal cost analysis, and those get to be some significant numbers.
And so I guess my differentiation is, are we going to try to include that in this specific ordinance, or are y'all coming up with?
The thing is, we can, we've got an ordinance that requires fiscal and economic impact. There's some question as to whether or not that's allowable in other than a zoning change under the Dillon rule.
I think what I'm getting at is, how can we keep moving this ball forward with that? I think that's the ball and chain that's keeping this ordinance text from being clarified a little bit for the builder's side, but then,
Yeah, that's certainly.
yeah, it's a good ball and chain, but I don't,
That's a motivator for me, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, what I'm hearing is quite a few people are thinking, look at the whole section, or all of R3. Is that what I'm hearing? All right, we've got 2 options. We can continue what we're doing, keep beating it back and forth, or we can assign it to a standing committee and start doing some work on it that way.
For God so loved the world that he did not send a committee.
On the other hand, we have the committee that you're on that's working on this partially now. And Zach has a committee that's not working on anything right now. Yeah.
If I may, I'd like to, off the record.
Yeah.
You are not off the record.
I would like to stick with the text amendment, and I'll give you the reasons
And
why.
not go further.
I would see that this could take a significant amount of time to go through the entire ordinance. I think it's a great idea. I think that should be done. I'm in favor of that being done. Making these few changes would allow me some clarity to move on and work on some things, rather than being kicked down the road 6 months.
Okay.
I'm
As-
simply stating an opinion.
As the applicant asking for this, that's, yeah. And it can be,
No, this is a zoning text amendment. I mean, we should make a decision at some point, but it's not subject to the same restrictions as, say, a special use permit or a application for rezoning.
okay, we have then this option. Continue just with this text amendment as it's presented right now. Continue discussion with the workshop. And look forward in the future to looking at the whole R3 zone.
I mean, it would make
Not-
sense to, somebody has come forward, paid the bill,
Yeah.
and asked the planning commission to look at it. Look at the items that he has said, should you see fit, and see if you like it or not. And if adjustments are in order, and you think, okay, well, one's too big or too small or whatever, and you want to negotiate a middle ground, he's here with his engineer to see what works. And if you, and if you still don't like it, don't vote for it. And if you like it, great. And then in the future, even if it's immediately following an approval or denial of the application that Mr. Esch has presented. If you see fit to make other changes while it's fresh in everybody's mind, then let's go down that path.
That sound doable?
It does, except I'm still clear as mud on if, let's just say we go X number, and then an economic impact study comes in and derails it, or it puts it into a position where, let's just say, our elected officials can't support it because, let's just say they can't. What do we do in that situation where,
Well, if his application is denied, then Mr. Esch has the choice of working with the rules that exist or applying for something different. And he can start again should he want to spend the time and dollars to do so. But, you know, you kind of have to think it through, and if you have further questions, it's why we're here.
yeah, I guess I'm trying to think now, again, being courteous to applicants, not just a specific one. Do we get it right in next 4 weeks, and we all talk about it, we all send emails, and we have input from Mr. Jewett and Mr. Smith? Because, again, I think that's the ballyhoo that it's just throwing me off on.
I mean, at the end of the day, the consequence of the ordinance change is that, yes, you will get more residential units. That is the consequence of the change. So that is really what you'll get. It means that area that's hard to develop now because it's expensive will be changed in such a way to where not just Mr. Esch, but some of the others will get some more units. And they will be units that are more dense.
It's
Are
some
you
of
okay?
the others that gives me pause, not Mr. Ash.
But then again, we don't have a whole lot of R3 properties.
Okay. All right.
So, for your consideration.
Maybe it's a parking lot conversation with the
Yeah.
folks.
Well,
Maybe that's probably better.
not to say anything, but we do an awful lot of that, and we should do it here.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so it sounds like we're saying not putting a standing committee on the whole thing right now. And another workshop, would another workshop move us forward? Just this amendment, yeah, which is what we're actually talking about.
Or a negotiated change,
Yeah,
which is what Zach is referring to.
yeah.
If you intend to make changes, that's fine, but I'll need to know what the changes are before we advertise for a public hearing.
Right, before joining.
So if we go to another workshop that's in November, that means that we're not having a joint meeting on this thing until January to meet the statutory requirements.
I would suggest that if we wanted to look at the rest of this stuff, and there's not really, I mean, if you look at the ordinance, there's not that much more to look at. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but, I mean, you know, we can look at this really quickly. I would have to assume in
You know-
one more workshop. And I'm not suggesting I don't think we need to do another subcommittee meeting. I don't think that we need to do that. I think
right.
we could probably come up with this fairly quickly if we need to change anything.
Would you indulge me for just a minute, Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
There's not that many changes here. Can we run down the list really quick and just look at each one? It'll take 5 minutes, and we'll see if the particular line item is objectionable or if we want to take more time or we like it.
Sure.
So-
I'm in favor of saying that there's probably not that much more going
Well-
to be changed.
Okay, well, I appreciate that comment, which is what led me to here. But say, if we just take a minute and we look at, say, 731, we're striking the minimum lot area of 10,000 plus an escalating size of 2,000 per square feet for each additional dwelling unit. Are we okay striking that? Or do we want further discussion, or are we not okay striking it? Just that single line.
Further discussion.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you guys do this, I'm going to beat you up with an email every day until you get back to me and tell me your rationale for why. We're doing this.
Fair enough.
All right. And then I'm going to start calling you at home at 9 o'clock at night. So, are we okay with an 8,000 square foot minimum lot area?
I think I'd just like to take one step back, and I understand the direction we're going. You know, when I said, hey, do we want to look at the whole thing, I was just thinking, we're just going to look at it. Still a short term out, not committee assignment and stuff like that.
I'm just trying to get you over the 90% mark.
Yeah, I gotcha. And then again, too, if it's advertised, as long as we go more restrictive too, right? We can do that, I think, change-wise, so.
I don't, know. I'll
Keep-
defer to
no.
Hannon on that, but I think you pretty much got to tell me what you want.
Substantial change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna do any substantial changes. And so, unless we'll get Jim's, R2 down zoning put in in the first couple sentences. And then I think,
I mean,
Mr. Esch is indicating we'll push this out a little farther, maybe give us till January, for a public hearing and
well, I mean,
we
still.
can just look,
And
at it.
that's fine, I'm here anyway, it's no big deal to me. But I would like some insight from you on the specific things that you would like more information on, because if we could pull things and put it in front of you, or know what the topic is that you want to spend more time on, then that helps an awful lot in directing the conversation to be productive.
I appreciate that. Those are all things we want, and we don't always get what we want.
I think it's a great idea, what Al said, is go over there in Orange and take a look at what they got. I'm gonna do that. And because what he's proposing is gonna be a little bit larger than that. I mean, we're not gonna get this solved tonight anyway, right?
Apparently not.
Is it, and I'm asking the whole planning commission, is a realistic expectation that, and we all appreciate what Alan is trying to do by walking down the list, but that's way too simplistic. Everybody review this thing, he's gonna try to get something together. We go through the exact same thing that we did tonight, and try to be a little more focused, or not in a negative way, so please don't take it that way, but try to get to a focus point where we could potentially be ready to advertise in January.
I'll give you a straw pick. My only argument is 10,000 square feet. I think that's more consistent with the other areas. I just don't know how the economic impact survey is going to slip in there down the road. That's my only point, if you want to know if I had a.
Oh, that's a great point for discussion, though. So are you more comfortable with a 10 over an 8? And if you go back to Supervisor Jewett's comments about the increase in population and where that goes, and Mr. Smith can certainly support an opinion on that. So that is the area that we should be talking about with this ordinance.
Back to the goal.
Exactly.
And I heard today, 65-foot lot width and 10,000 is potentially still feasible, and it doesn't, in my opinion, it gives us
Yeah,
a
it's,
hand to pull people off the ceiling when they hit it.
yeah, I mean, that's illustrated
It
here.
doesn't decrease the size of the lot, it just makes it
I could be
practical.
wrong.
Hey, check out that one in Orange. I've gone down through there. Have you gone?
Yeah, that's,
I've been there.
we can't decide if there's 6 or 8 over there.
That's 6.
Those are 6,
Those
that's too
are
small.
6.
That's too small.
And that was why, that's why I went to 8, with a little bit bigger setback. As you see here, they have 5-foot setbacks, and these are 10. So
Yeah,
that was,
ours are
that
10,
was my
yeah.
basis. If you wanna know what the basis was for where, my decision that I made, it was right there, because
We don't know the width though, right? You said I asked you.
I think it's 50 or 55. I could ask Matt tomorrow and know, but I don't 100% remember. They built a longer home and not such a wide home. A lot of those had a garage on the side, and then the entrance was over here
Because of the 5-foot setback.
with a 5-foot setback.
Yeah, and we have 10-foot side yards, I think, yeah.
But I'm in favor of kicking it down the road. Everybody go there and look at it, and we'll run it for the January.
It might prove
And I'll tell you, Alan, if you want a list of my concerns, like right now, when I see a zoning ordinance and it's going to say something like, an R3 zone shall only be established where public water and sewer facilities are available, I'm going to take issue with that. I don't like this is the rule, but we don't follow it in this case.
Well, my rebuttal to
situation,
that
so.
is that the R3 is already there.
Yeah, but words.
We're not asking for new R3.
Sure,
But
okay.
if we're gonna rezone it, if it's gonna be asked to be rezoned.
But that's not the subject of this application.
I understand, but I'm just telling you, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's some simple language stuff that can be addressed. We obviously need to put some provisions in there for how things are recorded and how that open space is preserved. But to me, it's pretty minimal. Everything's close-ish
your recording of open space should come in the site plan ordinance revision in the near future. So that's where that belongs.
And I agree with you about the shall language, as Shannon has told us. Shall is very specific
In the ordinance.
in the ordinance, yes, or in any legal document. Shall, that's a very specific,
It depends.
depends on the legal document, okay. There goes mine. All right, so we've got one more case we need to take a quick look at. I think it's just basically Alan telling us what's going to happen.
So the bottom line is we're gonna do one more workshop.
We'll do a workshop, okay.
Well, we're definitely going to have to do at least one more, unless you're ready to go directly to public hearing, and I don't think that's the case. And there's no time to advertise for anything sooner, so here we are. Okay. Next workshop, if you all would be kind enough to send me some of your thoughts.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Put my specs on and we'll read the last one here. All right, case number ZOA-10-25-01, ordinance amendment workshop. Senate Bill 1165 mandates no state agency, locality, or political subdivision of the Commonwealth in any request for proposal, procurement agreement, contract, ordinance, policy, permit, or accompanying document shall prohibit or otherwise exclude from use any materials contained in or products associated with solar photovoltaic equipment and facilities that are manufactured in the United States. As such, Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 14-19-3-C-7 requires amendment. Alan, please inform us.
A second from the bottom. I will. There you go. That's what you want. All right. All right.
And then we can go.
My apologies. We'll get back there.
When is-
All right. So, gentlemen, the county administrator received an email that I was copied on back in the middle of September and from a company called First Solar. They are a manufacturer of industrial scale, your words. They are a manufacturer of industrial scale photovoltaic panels. It's getting late, sorry. So they do not have a site in mind. Nobody's proposed a project that we're aware of, but they, of course, are tracking and probably lobbied for this particular change in the state code that's been included in your packet. I assume that all of you have read it. It essentially prohibits localities from regulating any of the materials that go into a solar panel if it's manufactured in the United States. The state code has done this. It has been enacted. It became active the same date as SB 974, and let's say, which is the 1st of July. And so this ordinance change is simply housekeeping. This is just to make sure that we are complying with the state code. So the proposal that we have in your packet is simply to exclude the requirement that the panels not contain the cited chemicals, that we exclude that if they're manufactured within the United States. So a simple change to cover that, and we leave everything else in there.
It's got to be domestic poison.
It's gonna be, yeah, if it's gonna be poison, it's gonna be our poison.
Right.
So, anyway, this is just a housekeeping thing. I don't think it's a substantial change to
Okay,
the ordinance as written, but here we are.
let's phrase it this way. Is there any objection to this amendment? Don't have an option? Well, yeah, I mean, we can require him to word it differently, but you're for? Well, yeah, we can't move it. Straw poll, anyone opposed?
Acquiesce and result only.
Mr. Wright, a serious question. I'm a shareholder. Does it matter?
I think it's already advertised.
You're a shareholder in what, sorry?
First Solar. Sorry, Jim. I like poison.
Well,
But on the other hand, we're not taking a
I
vote.
could just skip you on the point. Do I have to say anything, or
What is First Solar, sorry?
First Solar's the company?
the manufacturer of panels.
Yeah.
You can't talk about that. You should,
Recuse yourself.
You can sit in the gallery and make public comment about it. If you want to, yeah.
To make general public comment.
Speaking of that, is there any public comment?
I appreciate it.
All right. Is there any objection to this amendment? No, 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 no. I think we're okay.
Yes, but we can't fix it.
We can't fix it. You can't fix it. We have to have a meeting.
Let's say, act and results only.
Yeah, it has to be at the joint meeting.
I think this gets us to the minimum.
Yep.
So we'll advertise this one for December. We presented this to the board yesterday.
Yeah.
They're aware. So here we
We'll
go.
be ready to go at that joint meeting.
Exactly. Housekeeping.
Good to go. Now can somebody have a
So moved.
so moved? Second? Second is made. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ah. And I think we only spent 1 hour on the goats.
7 months.